All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Roll call sheets went around. If everybody's got a chance to sign it.
I don't know where it's at, but I think you,
It was right
Did you
there.
get it? I got it.
Okay.
I'm on there, yeah.
Motion to approve the agenda.
That's some amendments to the agenda.
All right.
Under police department, need to accept a resignation, and there'll be a new squad car update.
We can't accept any resignations at the committee meeting. We have to have to be at the.
Yeah, it's just information.
You're just telling us
Okay.
about it? Okay. And we'd also like to add a closed session to talk to Rob about, he said it's section C11, pending litigation. And Rob, you prefer that to be at the beginning of the meeting, so you don't have to charge us for a,
You would prefer it?
yeah, we would prefer that. Okay.
Motion to approve the agenda with those 3 additions.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approval of the minutes for Thursday, September 24th, 6:30 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
David,
Yes, ma'am.
your turn.
Hello everybody, I'm David Kane, David Kane Enterprises. This is just some pants, actually if you guys wouldn't mind just handing them around if you're interested. I'm trying to bring recreational cannabis, both CBD and THC, into the area. Is there a good place to stand so that everybody's head's not just swiveling or whatever?
Anywhere's fine, you're gonna be somebody's back, so.
So, my mind is all over the place. I'm dealing with meetings all over Illinois. Long story short here, I'm seeing if you guys are interested in facilitating anything from processing, fields, CBD head shops. We're looking into open up 5 by December 1st.
Thank you.
I was made aware you guys have TIF funds. You're looking for processing facilities, different amounts of employee opportunities here. I'm not trying to waste a bunch of your time, so I understand that you guys kind of snuck me in, but I'm partnered with Medical Cannabis Outreach, Eric Sweats. He also owns the CBD store. He's an MSO operator, multiple state operational license. We have fields that we're working on right now processing, so we have plenty of supply. It's just literally location, location, location. Our concern is there's ordinances that you can opt in and out of. Some other towns have started opting in and then decide, in and out. Not investors wasting any money is really just the summary of anywhere I could go with that. Our revenue, I have quite a lot of information. I'm just trying to summarize it in my head here. We already have our operational sealant stuff from Vermilion County. If anybody wanted to see any of this, definitely would show you guys that privately. I've gone through Department of Health, Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Businesses, getting all my proper stamps, making sure that I am qualified to do what I'm trying to do here. I'm a state registered care provider, not just a care giver. It's like 1 of 10,000 people in the state. All that is I have Crohn's disease, so I'm allowed to redistribute or facilitate a patient's need that may not be able to intake any type of medicine, whether that's capsules, whether that's smoking, vaporizing. That was my current experience prior to wanting to open up basically one store. Part of the expansion is the news media in my area took off, and there's investors all over the place. So it went from 1 to can you facilitate 5 to multiple states to I have till December 1st. So I have a bunch of ordinance questions that I actually want to ask you guys, and then I would leave the floor up to you guys. So if it's cool if I run through a real quick handful that we're concerned that different towns, we want certain curfew, water pressure, police enforcement, or I could just stop and let you guys ask your questions and go from there.
Well,
Yes,
my-
our
go ahead.
attorney had a quick comment.
Absolutely.
So this is a public comment section, it's not a question.
He's actually on the agenda.
No, that's right,
Okay.
public comment, but it's not really an appropriate place to ask
Okay.
the board, but you can make any statement you want to make and let them provide them with information.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, actually, were there any questions? Why don't I just start with that instead of just throwing a whole bunch of information at you guys that maybe is not currently relevant to today?
Okay, what are you wanting to sell though? You're wanting to sell the oil?
Multiple types of processed materials between lotions, lip balm, CBD
Okay.
capsules, pre-rolls. You know, we find that, you know, currently the medical industry isn't quite geared for people who have like articulous arthritis. They can't open these child-proof safe containers at all. So really it's more geared towards child and safety type protections.
Okay, but you cannot sell medical marijuana at this present time.
Well, so actually with my lawyer, with this seal, we could do pre-sales. However, we are not trying to make any gray decisions. We'll just say it like that. So currently what we're doing is we're freezing and processing our supply. Day one, December 1st, that we can open a door of anywhere that has 1,000, 2,000 square feet. With any other county ordinances, town ordinances, anything like that. I mean, as of right now, as far as I'm aware, and Eric Sweats is aware, I mean, we could start as soon as you guys give us a building, basically. So this is a recent thing because me and Eric merged, or excuse me, I misspoke there. We are a partnership. He merged with GTI, which is Green Thumb Industries. They were already awarded the first 5 licenses. Like a week later, he called me up saying he wants me to open 5 buildings. Now I'm applying for my own separate distribution licenses as well, but now that he has 5, I don't need to dip into the pot anymore. There's only 55 for Illinois. 47 of those are going straight to Chicago. The other 5 we already have in the bag. So now we're literally just finding a town that would like to facilitate this new industry.
That's for the medical, correct?
Correct. So we're going to be both medical and recreational.
Okay, you're saying, December 1st or whatever date? The date you said?
Yes, sir. December 1st, if we have doors open, that's our goal for
Okay.
5 facilities.
But can you legally sell medical marijuana December 1st?
From the state level, yes. It's federally illegal. I'm not quite sure if you're digging, sir, or if you're just asking.
Well, what I'm asking is why are these other places only, we were looking at a company that wanted to grow here.
Okay.
And we were one of the 3, and it was Taylorville, us, and I think Lincoln, and I don't know where it ended up at.
Like Barry?
Huh?
Barry? Well, there's one in Lincoln right now going in.
Okay.
We
But
have
this
established-
is guys that were selling medical marijuana right now. And it was all done by the state. And the licenses were given out by the state. So are you telling me that the state of Illinois is now going to issue more license?
Yes, sir.
Or recreational, correct?
As well as medical, as well as craft growing, as cultivation, distribution, processing. The state will be adding licenses as they see fit. So like for example, Danville, all the way on the other side of Illinois, that's Vermilion County's city. That's like their Jacksonville, if you will. They decided to opt out in order to bring in a casino. Well, the town just south of there called Tilton, we're in workings with probably setting it up there. And I mean, that little town's gonna explode. It's right on the border of multiple interstate access points, and we hope to be a shining example. We will expand, and it's not just 5, it's just investors and stuff like that. But I think to answer your question, sir, more direct, I'm already technically, as of right now, if you had a medical card or something, I could already, I guess, redistribute and recommend dosage. We would call that a treatment
But
plan.
is that selling me the stuff?
If you're talking, if I had a facility that had all my here's the thing, I need a facility and a location for the state before I'm authorized to just willy-nilly sell. If you're asking if I can just go drive down the road in my pickup truck and go sell stuff, absolutely not. So if I have a building and the state's aware of where I am, the city's aware of where I am, the county's aware of where I am, I already have everything. I mean, here you go, sir, if you want to check it out. I have all the seals, I'm getting my own authorities for my drivers. It's not just one company, it is enterprise,
So you're authorized by the state once you have a location that's also approved by that municipality?
Yep,
and/or-
I'm already authorized to transport, handle, process, all that. We have an active field already. We're currently processing hundreds of pounds currently, thousands actually. I don't know why I said hundreds, but thousands of pounds. And it's all COA, certificate of analysis. All of it's through the state's own process, labs and stuff. Anything above 0.3% gets flagged. Anything above 0.7 gets destroyed. I also have an organic waste division where we are going to use European night crawlers to turn that organic material into something called compost tea, which is then an organic substance that we can then give our plants. So it's not just a one-type business, it's not just an open turnkey business, however, there's already multiple structures, layers to this, pretty much from seed to disposal. We are, every direction's being built currently.
Have you approached the city of Jacksonville?
So actually, as of last week, I was opening one facility in the central-ish area or eastern area of Illinois. As of my business meeting of October 10th and, was it the 18th or something? I was informed that the investment and goals were very much more advanced, and they want to aggressively open 5 facilities. Well, 6 actually. We're opening one in Champaign currently right now. Right off Green Street. Neil, there's a building there. I just found out he's already putting in a bid on that. The second we can open there, I guess what I would like to suggest, and I'm doing this to all the town boards that we're talking to, is send a representative. Come check out our fields. Come check out our processing facilities.
But have you approached the city of Jacksonville, though?
This is me approaching the entire, this area. We have
You
family in this
haven't
area.
been to the city council meeting?
Not the
with
north.
your
I believe this is the southern Jacksonville council
Mhm.
meeting. Okay, so we wanted to start here. We have family in this area. Again, the expansion was very recent, and so now we are obviously, I'm doing what I was doing before, to 8 different cities in my area to now the pretty much entire state. I'm keeping it in the central Illinois region just because that's really where I'm familiar with. Anything north would, in my opinion, be throwing water down a well because they're gonna have that so saturated, it's really not worth any, I would consider myself a small-time businessman's time.
So you and this, you're saying this, Eric, you
Eric
guys
Smith,
are, you guys are just running the facility, so you have other investors that,
and partners, yes, sir.
okay,
Multiple. It's, again, it's not just one thing.
Correct.
This is my company that Eric Sweats has partnered with me. He came here from Colorado. He has, I believe, 8 active facilities. Also, side note, these pamphlets are just a hair old. The conditions have doubled and our locations are definitely more than that. But you know, I'm trying to reuse a little bit of some old paperwork, you know. But this town, this everything, and we have family in this area. You know, we look through some of your ordinances. We agree with a lot of like your child safety stuff. We treat this cannabis opportunity just like you would treat a firearm, tobacco, or alcohol. We want the parents or the customers educated on how to keep it away from children, keep it sealed. If they were to consume it, you don't have to worry because it's not like opiates. It's not like you take 5 Oxycontin and you're gonna have a bad time. You could eat a cupcake and the kid's gonna probably just pass out. I could definitely get into some more details about the medical side with children, but that usually gets a little bit touchy and costs a lot of time. We're gonna do CAS classes and seminars, cannabis awareness seminars. We also are gonna ask for representatives of any town or municipalities that's interested to attend that, and that'll go from all the pros and all the cons. It's not just a happy day of let's be biased. You know, if you have pre-existing conditions such as different type of schizophrenic type of brain chemistry issues, heavy doses of RSO, Richard Simpson's oil, can set that off. So I mean, we want everybody educated on the positives and negatives so that they understand, you know, what they're getting into. We don't want somebody to put a product inside them that they're not quite sure if it's for them. But we are well established with doctors, physicians, nurses, multi-state, multi-everything. This is just Illinois' time, and this is the industry's takeoff. We highly recommend you guys go, if you guys are considering this, to go with the max of the 3% of the revenue. Just some numbers that I could throw out. When my original revenue analysis came in, it was a $1.6 million a year turnaround. Now that's employees, equipment, vehicles, all that kind of stuff. Now with the fact that I'm going not only with one distribution facility, but craft growing and everything else, that revenue went up to $2.6 million per facility. So let's say 2 million, 10% or 3%. You know, you guys buy whatever kind of equipment you need for town. We want to make sure your water towers are good. If we have a field around here, if there's a processing plant, we want to make sure the water's clean. We want to make sure that any law enforcement agencies, you know, that they have the proper equipment, all that kind of stuff, cameras. We have to be linked to the state police on most of our facilities, so there'll be 2 cameras per facility, usually front and back door. So if like anybody tried to like rip our doors off or something, for example, at least, you know, they can respond hopefully in a timely manner. So another little insight, my hometown Lincoln, where I just moved, they're talking about disbanding their police force because there's not enough revenue for the town. So, you know, this is an opportunity not only to maybe add to any type of enforcement, fire department needs, you know, EMS, it's all municipalities. We have money going for rehabilitation facilities, we have money, it's not just one thing, and for the THC side of it, the tax is 33% to the state. So that means that we would be contributing pretty much our pension plan bailout out of the cannabis industry, which, hey, you know what, I'm all for helping the state out in a tough situation. You know, I could rattle on and on and on, and I apologize for being scatterbrained. I've been going to meetings after meetings. I would like to hit up any concerns or possible points of interest that you guys would have. I understand, you know, this is only one section of the town, but this is our starting point for this area, this side of Illinois. So,
You got any cards?
yes, sir, I got quite a few that I, so these
So you can
are,
hand some cards out so that way if anybody's got any questions.
absolutely, that's perfect. And I don't mind staying after, leaving my number, my email and all that stuff for any other type of questions or concerns. Any legalities, if anybody wants to double check my licenses or my ordinance codes that you know, I'd love to talk to if you guys have a local ordinance officer, or if there's a police chief here, there's a bunch of like home rule, schools, churches, playgrounds, daycares. We're not trying to set up anywhere near them, so we'd want to look at the city layout. We can set up near them, but we don't want to, you can't advertise. We don't even want to cross the path of a daycare. It's not needed. We don't need somebody to drop off their kid and have to see recreational cannabis signs. In my opinion, that would be like opening a bar up next to a preschool. Like, nah. So we want to make sure that the location that we open is going to at least facilitate a 6-month to a year lease, renting agreement, some type of ordinance where at least for that year our investment for that facility will be at least somewhat secure. We're looking at roughly $160,000 per building. That's 5 standard employees, 2 managers, a driver. This is just the distribution and sale facility. Now that's not including our processing plants, our fields, our all kinds of stuff. So I mean, there's a huge opportunity to bring in a very vast majority of different types of jobs, meaning different trades, different everything. It's not just one general. We don't need just botanists. We need everything. We need builders and yes, sir.
So not to cut you off. 'cause
No, absolutely. I ramble.
I'd say you're probably past your time, but
Yes, sir.
just so you're aware, this council is going through a codification of their ordinance now. There's probably nobody at the table that can tell you exactly to a T what our ordinance governing that is. I know we're addressing those now. We do have a code enforcement officer that she's fantastic. You can sit down with during the day. You're welcome to make an appointment with her. But just so you're aware, these council members are in the process right now of codifying, cleaning up those ordinances, and that would be one that's addressed. So.
Awesome, and I have many that I would maybe suggest to the code enforcement officer about curfews, locations, smoke usages, on-site use, stuff like that. So I'm definitely open to collaborate even, you know, maybe just show my research, what I bounced off other mayors and townships, and you know, maybe it's something you can use, maybe it's just a bunch of paper, but you know, this is something that we're invested in on quite a big level, and it's just the time frame is just massive. I mean, it's just a new industry. Everybody, by the way, is scrambling to add ordinances. It's not one town, it's the entire state. I mean, there's ordinances, water usage, electric usage. I mean, every town's coming up with their own little tax this, tax that, and that's fantastic. We want that economic growth. We can facilitate that kind of revenue or that kind of tax purposes with all the kind of revenue that we're going to bring in. So we really do want the communities to start from the ground up with us, be involved with how we're going to run our facilities. I would love the opportunity to talk to the local sergeant who does patrols and stuff. Those are the people that they're going to be the ones dealing with it, the patrol officers, the EMS, fire, you know. Hey, it's just another industry, so I mean, we have to have everything covered. Child services even, we need to know they're educated in case, hey, this person's not responsible and a kid got it and now what, so.
Okay, just hand your cards out to everybody so that way if they got any questions. And then obviously, if you wanna have another meeting, we can set it up with Bree or whatever and go over that level. And obviously, you know, we can talk about this at a later time. I mean, I think we've gave
Yes, sir.
plenty enough time.
I really
So,
appreciate
we
it
got a
last
long
minute.
meeting.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your
Appreciate
guys'
your
time.
presentation.
Absolutely, thank you guys very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I get one of your cards, sir?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm
hand
gonna
them,
go ahead
hand
and
them.
leave a couple up here, and if
Why
you
don't
call
you
me
leave
up
one
with
for
cannabis
everybody
outreach.
around the table?
Yeah, you got
So
enough for,
these are my partners, and I just started signing them. I have a couple on
well,
me.
give me a couple and then we
Here you go.
can,
I'll tell you what.
oh,
No, I got you.
we can, print them off.
Yes, sir, that works, and then I'm getting my own. I just, you know, again, this was an aggressive partnership, so I mean, we're
Okay.
reusing some of our old stuff, sure, but our licenses, I promise you, are not just 1 or 2. We're licensed clear across the board, so.
Okay.
Again,
Alright.
thank you guys for your
Thank
time.
you.
And,
Thank you.
Get out of your hair. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
You want mine?
Oh, yeah.
More comments from the floor, if not,
Thank you.
Motion to go into closed
You
session.
don't have to do it right now, but sometime in the minimum, that way everybody's got one. I can do it. Just
Yeah, I'll
show me
make
a
that
copy of it.
motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Just for a short.
This is,
Yeah, it won't be very long.
hey, Tim, this is a perfect opportunity to get some more information out of it.
Oh, I don't do that. You saw that.
Orders on.
I think it's great he had a lot of information, but I
Yeah,
noticed he
that
was
was-
starting to like.
How much is 3% of $202 million?
I know.
$60,000.
Or 60,000,
60,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
60,000.
Guaranteed.
Have you gone into close?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Motion
That's a full-time fire chief.
to open closed session.
So moved.
Second. Quit it, Greg.
Second.
All
Oh,
in
Greg
favor,
can be
say aye.
second.
Aye.
That was
Aye.
All
funny.
opposed, same sign.
Anything else, Paul? You
I don't think so, because I think we'll
Second.
touch on those during
Second.
old and new business
favor,
and
say
get
aye.
in touch with you.
Okay, you're gonna get me information on the
Aye.
board ordinance. You're gonna get me.
Okay.
one
Yes.
I got a head
now,
start,
right now.
otherwise
Yes.
I'd be like, wait, what?
You answered that.
Good customer.
I,
Right, we had
spent
talked about
$300
South
in
Main
a,
billboard,
fundraising deal, and I got to do them.
or even just to talk about it in November, you know, at a committee meeting or
That and a
something,
little
just to get it
die-cast thing
started.
and
Yeah,
a free,
we've talked about it
Yeah.
back and forth,
$300,
so.
So it's a car deal.
And I think
No,
that
no,
you
it
can
was,
just, the only other thing we
they're
were
raising
gonna
money
ask him
for
about
some
was the
benefit,
marijuana, if he
yeah,
could
whatever.
advise us, but
How
I
big- how
could do
big is
that
the
at a later
diecast thing?
date, couldn't he?
Uh,
Or
it's
could
a
we do
bunch
it
of
now?
The only thing,
Yeah.
real
It's
quick,
their
the
panel
only thing
van.
my
They got
understanding
it.
is
If it was like this, I could see
that
why.
use is
Well, it's pretty
maybe
long.
legal across the state come.
I like the place. I mean,
Isn't it January first?
I've always, you
Okay, so
know,
use is legal across the
no, little man.
only thing we can do is, we can either ban the sale, or we can do nothing if the sale
I mean, they always
is
have good
legal,
food,
or
good
we can
service.
add up to a 3% sales tax on that sale.
I don't think I've had a bad deal in the past.
I used to
It's
support
pretty,
Megan.
it's pretty straightforward.
Remind me, buddy.
Megan pinched my leg once. And then I had to sign some new
Well,
policy.
do you just wanna say that bit before you go? Just to let us know, and then we
It's up to
can,
you.
Hey,
cause then we'd at least know where to
Mommy's
talk about
kicking
it.
you out?
Because we're on, it's on the
Because
agenda
we're on
already.
that,
That's
yeah, so
good,
we can
because
just.
your ass wouldn't fit through the door in that camper.
Oh, it does.
It
I haven't climbed back there.
Not
yet,
without
so-
reason.
Marijuana.
Oh, yeah.
We back in the camper.
I got-
Camper and door.
I got told earlier,
Are
if
limited.
the curtains are rocking, don't do it
A few
night.
areas, state about one.
What are you doing by yourself?
All right, let's settle down, so you can go back and open session,
I
please.
fell in love with myself about 12 years old, and I ain't fell out of love yet.
Hey, I'll make that
Oh
motion.
my,
A motion to go back and open session?
Yep, make that
Second,
motion.
might as well.
you already did.
Yeah, well, we already did, so we are in open session. Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and continue the quick, brief discussion on the recreational marijuana sales.
So I was asked about what we need to do on the public comment. You know, I think what most villages, municipalities are doing is making a blanket decision, are we gonna go in this direction with sales and everything, or not?
Right.
And you'll see this pop up across the state in newspapers. If you decide you're interested in it, then there are things you need to look at. Taxes, sales taxes, zoning ordinances, and those are the things you need to look at. But if you're not gonna go, you don't need to look at them, if you're not gonna go in that direction. So as a board, you need to initially make the decision, which direction are we gonna go?
Will this go on live January 1 or
January
later?
1, yeah.
There's definitely a lot of homework involved, because I was surprised to see Decatur opted out.
I was too.
I was too.
The whole
That
city,
surprised
yeah.
me.
Got a comment from the floor or a question?
Oh, just one second. One thing that I want to stress to the public, to all of us and the public too, is one thing to remember with this recreational sales is the use is going to be legal come January 1st. There's nothing we can do, like it or hate it, there's nothing we can do to change that. So if somebody can't buy it here, they're going to either drive to Jacksonville or
Yeah.
Chapin or Murrayville, wherever that license is going to be.
Correct.
They're going to be able to purchase the recreational marijuana, and they're going to be able to drive back here and they're going to use it.
Right.
So it's just a matter of, do we want to have some revenue out of this or not? Not trying to compare marijuana to alcohol, but you're gonna have, you're gonna have the issues from it, so you might as well collect the revenue from it, is my thought.
And just speaking as a person that's worked in these facilities, a lot of them are lobbyists for the state that are funding them. So that's how they're, when he said that they're sending out more and more and more deals to do this, that's who's funding all these things is lobbyists. So just to give you
Yeah,
a little
eventually they're gonna
insight.
increase their permits, I'm sure, cause it's
Agreed.
gonna create
Absolutely.
revenue. But for right now, there's only gonna be one permit in this whole area right here.
That's right. That's
And-
right.
Now, does anybody know anything about, now, from the one I worked in Springfield, they said that, the old AC Humco was being looked at as a growing facility.
That was-
Was it
that
bought
was-
as that?
No, it was not sold.
Okay.
It was, they bid on it and the guys that own it refused to bid.
Jason Worth.
Jason Worth
he
was the
bid
one
on it.
trying to
Right.
press it a
Him and
year
his dad,
ago,
yeah.
and it didn't go through, a year ago.
I don't know who bought it.
Nobody, I know who
One
bought it,
second.
they didn't get it
Just
bought.
to
It takes $600,000.
He knows off the
I saw that.
the revenue side of things, the
600,000.
date.
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw my report on this with the city of Jacksonville, they had an emergency meeting to pass the 3% tax increment. So you all are gonna have to wait 3 months now until.
The municipality, the municipal sales tax revenue doesn't kick in anyway until October.
Right.
So, and you have to have, we would have to have ours in 90 days before that, so we
Correct.
still have time.
Yeah, it would bump up.
Yeah.
So they emergency passed 3%, that's the max you can go.
But yeah, the sales start January 1st, but the municipal sales tax revenue that's generated actually doesn't kick in until October. So, yeah, we still have time to.
You've got plenty of time to, you've got, the state runs slow.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So, but
So
yeah,
then I
that's a
guess-
good point that you do have to have that 90 days in there.
We just need to decide whether we're even interested or not, because there's no reason to talk about it if we're not.
If you're interested, you have a bunch of things you have to consider
Right.
and start working on. If you're not, go to the next issue.
Yeah, well, I'm not interested. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm a no.
I have for the longest time, ever since it came up as like a realistic idea, thought tax it and tax the heck out of it. Make money. People are doing it.
You
People
only
are
make 3%.
3%'s 3%. I'm not turning down money. I work for a public entity funded by tax money. I ain't turning down money. Not at my work. I wouldn't turn down money here. I wouldn't turn down money for my community, for the school. None of it, honestly.
Let's keep going with our straw poll then.
Yeah. I would have to agree with you, Harry. I mean, it's gonna be here, whether you like it or not, you might as well get the revenue off of it.
I wanna do more research on it.
That's exactly how I feel. I wanna do more homework.
Give a little time, make it an action item in a month or two, maybe. Talk to some of our constituents and see what they feel about it.
Nice word, dude.
Just when we do, the one thing, and when I say when we do, the one thing I've been running into is the whole, are we making it legal to use? And in that conversation I've been having to explain to people is it's already gonna be legally used.
Right.
All we're talking about is whether or
As far as
not,
the state's concerned.
yeah,
Right.
They're
yes.
gonna be using it no matter what you say.
They're gonna be using it no matter what, and once I explain that, they're like, well, I ran into a couple, they're like, no matter what, you know, you're going to have those folks that are no matter what knows.
Well, it's a change, I mean, everything that we're talking about right now used to be bad years ago,
Yeah.
and now it's,
Well, what it boils
they'll
to
hand
down,
it to you in the hospital to help you, so.
what it boils down to right now is there's only gonna be one permit to sell for the next probably year or two, and it's most likely gonna be in South Jacksonville or it's gonna be in Jacksonville. So, people are either gonna drive north of Michigan or south of Michigan to buy it.
When you're talking only 3%, those only 3% can add up to some big money, like thousands.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he talked like $2 million, that's 60,000.
Absolutely, so that's some
That's
potential
one
revenue
person,
for
two
us,
people.
definitely.
Oh, I understand that, I just,
Yeah.
Just give them
Greg
your
I'm
said
just
tax
the
as much as you
revenue
can, I
person,
mean,
I'm
3%'s a
like,
cap, you
you know.
can't tax 6 or 7%,
Sure.
so.
Well, yeah, but
And in addition to, this is a whole
I
separate.
just do that tongue in cheek, I understand.
No, this is a whole separate issue too, but separate from the recreational sales is we do have some places looking for cultivation as well. I've been emailing back and forth with a few places and I'm like, come check it out. We do have some agricultural areas available. You know, if we approve it, and I think the biggest issue there would be water, water demand, but
I
that's,
think most of these are grown inside, though, are they not?
I don't know.
The one that I tried to get out here
Well,
earlier was a totally inside operation. They had to have a lot of water, which we were sitting right on the highway, we had all the water they could stand. We had to have electricity, which we had two big companies out there, being Ameren and also Prairie Power out there. And it was ideal, but we didn't have the political, I hate to say, smoke to
Yeah.
get it going.
That was
to
about
do it.
5 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the ones so far I've been talking to, they like the location. They've had questions about water, but apparently they're getting more permits. You know, because with the recreational sales, they've added more of the cultivation permits.
All the outside growth is mostly for the hemp stuff, isn't it?
I think
It's
so.
not,
Yeah.
they didn't grow
Medical's all
anything
indoor.
outside that you can
Yeah,
smoke.
how they're doing it, at the one I worked at in Springfield, it was all in the basement downtown in Springfield.
Right.
Yeah,
At, whatever the drive.
Capitol building.
but you get a lot.
Right.
You get a lot more jobs with the
Conveniently, it
cultivation.
was right across from the
Sales,
the
so.
governor's office.
And Rob, can we hold like public
Absolutely.
hearings?
yeah.
Because I think
People-
something like this,
People are doing it.
I mean, look at the people that didn't want a bar to come because of alcohol in a residential area. So you can imagine marijuana, and people are gonna get alcohol wherever too, and they're gonna be able to get marijuana wherever, but my whole point is, do we want it in South Jacksonville? I understand the whole revenue deal. It's what we want South Jacksonville to be known for and to look like. And for me, I mean, I know it's revenue, but, I have a big difficulty with that, and I'd like to hear what people say. You know, I wanna hear what the residents say.
For $60,000 income, is it going to cost us?
Right, yeah.
You know,
Because then for the police, does that cost them more work? And the fire and John's department? Those are the things I think we need to weigh instead of totally thinking about money. Money is huge. But what's the whole picture of this
I
for
don't
our
have a vote
village?
in it, but I'm like you, I say we don't need it.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying, they're gonna have it here anyway, I
Right.
get it, but
Right.
we don't need to be known for it, but.
Cause we're already knowing
That's my
people are
2
griping
cents.
about gaming parlors here or gaming, which everybody has them. And it is a
Yeah.
nice source of revenue for the village. But we did put limits on those because we started saying, guys, this is too much. So that's why I'm a no right now, just because I think, oh my gosh, why do we have to be like everyone else? And if we're strapped for money, that's something different. I mean,
it'll be kind of
money makes the world go round.
Well, kind of our step from us. If there's only one going to be in the
Yeah.
area, then everyone else would want to be just like us.
Well, and I guess like
but
Dick
there's
said, then what's the other side of that? When we get the money, what do we lose?
There's no guarantee it's going to be in this area. My understanding was there were going to be
Oh, no, I
3
kinda
of
thought
them.
he said that though. no.
I think this guy's really fishing, my own self.
Oh, there will be one, and there was a map that I think I sent
That's
out,
all.
there will be one in this area. It's just a matter of, will it be Jacksonville, South Jacksonville, or, I mean, if the map was broad enough, I guess it could go to maybe Chapin or Murrayville or Woodson. I mean, the little red, they have little red spots on the map.
If
all
they
over.
give out enough applications, they'll be around just like the gaming commission.
Same deal.
Well, then it's
Yeah,
time
right.
sensitive, and
Because
I
the
sound like
the state is
the
gonna
only
want
real
that
no.
revenue, so they're
maybe we
gonna,
should move forward
if
talking
you apply
about it.
for it, they're gonna give it to you.
Cause
Well, we can't-
you want info, right? You want info.
Absolutely.
Tom wants info, you're
Oh,
a yes.
but I still
You
want info,
probably-
but yeah.
You're a yes, so I'm the only no, so we should move forward if
We can have, I like the idea of doing a public hearing, but probably not on, but probably not, we can't do it on the, at the November meeting.
Yeah, it might
Because
have to
we
be
have
later.
another meeting coming up before that, on that same day, which I sent you guys an email, I think it's on the agenda too. So, we'll just
Oh, yeah.
schedule it, probably, how about we just schedule it at the November 7th meeting, we'll
Yeah.
just schedule it then.
Cause it'd be different if we were all no, then we could just stop it and move on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm the only no, so we might as well move forward
Way
and,
to go, Paul.
yeah.
And
sorry.
just-
I'm the only wet blanket.
One of you two can answer this maybe. The 3%, we still get sales tax on regular sales too, so it's additional 3%. So we'd get out of the regular sales tax.
Whatever percentages of that.
Yeah,
goes.
so,
Is that 10 3/4% then, is that right?
what's that?
At 10 3/4%?
Something like that. I don't know what the
And
math
not our
is.
share of that.
Yeah, not our share.
No, we don't get anything near that, but.
Yeah, I was gonna say that'd be.
Unless we go home rule and then we could add additional sales tax.
Put another
on-
1%.
I'm just saying if,
Okay, so you said talk about November then?
yeah, we'll schedule a hearing at the November board meeting.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. Sounds good.
Unless we have any other legal questions.
Then,
Before you leave, I've got one thing for you. You're all gonna get copies of this, but this was for under the codification thing. I'll give it to you here quick. And what their attorney suggested is that you look at these,
Rob.
sign regulations, because they have a lot of ones that are
Oh,
in
sign.
direct conflict of what we've got. So this is a list that I prepared of everything that we want to do, okay? And this is a list here of what we can, this is a copy of the list of what they suggested we do and things like that.
Okay.
So
Oh,
there's
that's off
that.
the packet that they
Yeah,
sent back?
yeah.
Perfect. That was on my list.
So there's that.
well, mark that off.
Yeah.
And one other thing before you leave, we had Paula's got it down somewhere about the quorum issue. On that response to the ordinance codification, and it's on the second page, and it's under 3416. This is just something that I caught my attention, but this is in reference to amount that may be subjected to competitive bidding and being an amount exceeding $20,000. Unless bidding is waived by 2/3 of the trustees, and that are then holding on. Now, that's 2/3 or 4 votes, not 3, not including the mayor. Mayor's not included. Now, I have the copy that you gave us. You know, it says the mayor and 3 trustees would form a quorum.
But that's different than the quorum. This doesn't
That
have to do
is.
with the quorum.
Okay,
Yeah, you couldn't have the meeting if you didn't have the quorum. And the
Right.
quorum's 4 of you or 3 of you and the village president.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that vote is a different thing than.
It is, but it just shows that somebody somewhere was thinking about 4 trustees and not including the
Yeah,
mayor.
did you want to explain that quickly? Because we talked about that like in December of 2008 was the first time that quorum issue came up.
Just what is a quorum?
Well, because the way I was taking the email you had sent was that there are 2 different ways to look at it, and that the trustees have the capability to decide what we want the quorum to look like.
No. So the municipal code says that a quorum on a village, a board is, because you have 6 trustees, you have 3 in the village president or 4 trustees present. You can't start a meeting without that.
Okay.
Now, you do have discretion if you have, I'm just making this up, a liaison committee, and you have 4 trustees on the liaison committee. You can say, look, if 2 of them can be present, that's enough to be a quorum. But the municipal code defines what a quorum is for the public bodies. So you can have 3 in the village president or 4 of you before a meeting starts.
Okay, so is that a committee meeting or is that a board meeting where we take action?
Well, technically, it's both, because you do committees of the whole.
Okay. So if we put an ordinance, if we decide, which I don't know what everybody feels like, but if we want the 3 and the mayor to count as a quorum, can we
It
make?
already does.
Okay, so what if we want it to be 4 trustees?
It already is. Either one of those works. It has to be a majority of the officials, village president's an official, and the 6 trustees. So it's gotta be 4 trustees or 3 trustees and the village president. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I guess, but what do you do with the vote? How do you have an action item and
On a
only
committee meeting, you
3?
would never have that.
Right, that's why I was asking, does that count for both? Because in a board meeting, we have action items. How can you pass something with only 3 trustees? So can you not vote?
3 to 3 vote is a fail.
So you
Or
can,
the village president can't vote sometimes.
so you can have, but it would be 3 to 0 because you'd only have 3 trustees voting.
If you had 3 and the village president, it would be 2 votes would be the majority of the quorum.
It sounds like incentive to be there.
If you find
Yeah,
out
that's
that you're only
interesting.
gonna have 3 trustees,
Uh-huh.
I would suggest you try to reschedule the meeting. Just like if, you know, either, and the village president can appoint somebody. I mean, you wanna have as much participation as you can. But if you have 3 trustees here, 2 wins. A vote of 2 wins.
Okay. And then, okay, so what happens if no one seconds a motion and it dies? Then it just dies like normal?
Yep.
So it's gotta come
Somebody-
back to another meeting?
Somebody can bring it back up if they want to.
Okay, all right.
But they gotta get a second to get it, back on the agenda too.
So you can hold a committee meeting, cause we don't make any, there's no action.
You can, yeah, but, what, we do approve minutes and things like that. I mean, if you came tonight and Harry wasn't here, and it was just 3 of you, I would probably, if you called me, what should we do? I would reschedule the meeting.
I see.
All right.
Take that, did that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
If you don't have that, documentation, holler at Stephanie or somebody in here. I always call you
I don't know who
Stephanie.
Stephanie is, but I'll call
She's your
Stephanie.
evil twin.
Alias
Yeah.
Tiffany.
Okay.
Or call me or something, but I'll get you a copy of it.
Thank you, Rob.
Just ask for a Stephanie.
Oh, yeah, you're the evil twin, Stephanie's
And I'll
nice.
get you the,
Right.
I'll get you guys the time on the report.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
Bye, Rob.
Oh, yeah, thanks, thank you.
You look tired, like you just had a baby or something.
I will be right back. I'm not leaving the meeting. I got this on. I'm going to make copies.
Can you make a note of that, Greg?
Oh, he already just did.
Okay.
Oh, boy. All right, we'll jump into finance. The floor is yours, sir. You can stay after if you want and go take a nap. if you need. Like, sorry, the meeting went till 11 o'clock.
They do anyway.
Wow.
I always throw it in
Oh,
every meeting.
yeah.
Zip it.
All right, I know you guys got a lot more to go over tonight. I obviously wasn't able to make the last meeting because we had a kid on that day.
Well, congratulations.
That is no
Yeah.
excuse, Matt.
So, yeah, we were in the hospital whenever I was texting hospital and figured.
You got it, Greg?
Long story short, I've updated everything that we talked about at the last meeting. I know Tom wanted to have another meeting, or have me come to one more meeting to kind of go over and make sure we covered everything. I'm not gonna waste your guys' time going over every single page because that would take forever. But I know that a couple of the things that we discussed 2 meetings ago now would be the businesses, and under the businesses tab, as you guys requested, we went around each business, we got a picture of each business, and Tiffany and Ryan got all of the locations for us, so hopefully we got everybody. They're divided up into categories. Basically from there, you can click on hotels, or you just search above, up here, in the keywords. Scroll down, you see each hotel
Oh, nice.
listed.
Yeah.
You've got their website, you've got their phone number. I think that pretty much covers, most of the stuff that we talked about the other day.
They say Jacksonville.
Oh, I did not do that. That's
They
not,
should all say South.
I'll say South Jackson.
That's an easy fix. So, but yeah, so that was one of the big things we covered, and then, Tom, what else did we want to cover? I went through your list.
that wasn't.
Make sure to pull his check out.
I don't remember where he was.
Have labor drive on there.
Yep, so, under village info, Tom went out and dug up some information on our,
Why's there a picture of your house, Tom?
we've got some pictures, and then we've got some information that was provided by, the property manager over there, as far as what it includes, and then just a little bit of information about it right above. So,
Did you ever get your picture taken? Did you get your picture taken?
One thing I didn't notice, you missed out on those logos for handicapped accessible and,
okay, yeah, that's fine.
there.
Yeah, because it's Megan's glamour shot. Yeah,
We wanna see Dick's picture, please.
yeah, we must see
Right
Dick.
there.
Look at
Oh, look at him.
You don't have a hat on.
He's
They wouldn't
no
let me
longer
wear it.
coming soon, he's there.
Yep, so, all the pictures I believe that were requested were taken. Tom finished, the last, group tonight that I'm gonna go home and, or whenever you took them. I got them tonight for, which one planning commission. So I'll have those pictures tonight when I get
A
home.
ribbon in your hair.
Other than that, I mean, we did what we could with, everything that we had. Tried to spruce the logo up a little bit up at the top of the page, and added the conveniently located, I believe, Tom, that came from you or somebody. Other than that,
You wanna show them Harry's, dog and pony show there?
down there at the
What?
bottom,
Dog and pony show.
Oh,
Welcome from the mayor.
But technically, it's not the mayor, it's the village president.
oh.
He likes mayor.
I don't
It's,
care.
it's on the door that,
Okay.
it was already there when I got there.
He's in a suit, give him cut him a little bit, I guess.
Did you get a chance to look at the stuff from, where was that at, John? The thing we made 5-6 years ago.
Oh, the,
It's on Facebook, no, it's
Oh,
on.
the
That video.
it's on YouTube.
I'm not sure we got a link to that.
I'll send it to you right now.
From Alan Stewart.
It's
Yeah,
out
absolutely
there. I know
awesome.
that one.
But it's 2
It's,
days long.
No,
and it's
Jacksonville,
outdated
Iowa.
now.
Well, it
Yeah.
ain't.
is anybody in that video still here other than John?
It ain't, that's why I
They
said.
never
it
had
needs-
anybody that I remember.
It just
So,
need, it
no,
only
no.
have trustees and the mayor on there. It just needs
That's
to be,
okay.
Yeah,
it was 11 minutes long and I think they say 5 to 7 is the target.
Probably more like 3
It's
now.
absolutely awesome.
Couple neat things we
But-
did on, oh,
But
sorry.
you could put the right faces in there, you could condense it down and it would be awesome to run with. I've said it for the last 2 or 3 years, we need to be doing this. I mean,
We can add a video in anywhere you guys want to add video. in.
just, if you would look at it and see what
it's
you.
a good
Yeah,
promotional.
You some texting that to me?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Um,
yeah, I'll take a look at it. But yeah, we can.
Because I know there's shots of Vandalia, but there's only one house there, and now that whole block is full, so I wouldn't want to show that.
Right, no,
Yeah,
it needs,
but
it
there's
needs,
other parts.
yeah.
The crime rate are both
Yeah.
low, but the potential for growth is huge.
That's
The
it.
neighborhoods are small and quiet. The community services are
12
new and
minutes and
modern.
1 second.
Yeah, we don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
We get the gist, Tim.
We did add a couple pretty cool things
And the
on here
school's different
for
too
the
now.
new one. Under operations, Matt, if you'll click on that, we added a financial documents thing where if anybody goes right to that, they're gonna see our last audits and then our last budgets, so it's just really easy. You can see the finance stuff right away. Under documents, then the documents tab, there's applications and it'll have a lot of our paperwork that was never on there before. So you could see like the business registration notice, the employment applications, golf cart applications, all that stuff that people come in here and never find. Now it's right on our website.
So you'll have that codification link and the
Yeah, once we get that,
TIF
we'll add that to it.
information or whatever.
And then also, is it under documents, Matt? FOIA. It's really cool here too. We added links to the Illinois Attorney General about frequently asked questions on FOIA. So it gives people more information, more access to that, so the public has
And all the records.
all that good stuff and all of
All
our
the
records
records are
get on
there.
there and
All the
just trying to
requests.
give more information and make it easier to kind of, so everybody can see, more user friendly.
Is our TIF map on here?
It is, there's a whole TIF map.
Where's that?
It's under village
Village
info, I
info.
believe, TIF information, we've got the
Perfect.
application on there, there's a map.
Yes. Very good.
So, yeah, we've tried to,
Good.
I could
check all the
actually take a
boxes.
picture of the map, but it's on here.
Good. Yes.
So,
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
way more user friendly than it was before.
so and then yeah, there's under the village info, you've got your demographic information. Did we update that? I know that was something that was brought up a couple meetings ago, and I don't remember that information or not. But that might be one thing for somebody to look over. You got your Prairie Land info, Godfrey Park info. But yeah, I mean, really the biggest change was just the addition from what you guys requested at the last meeting that I was here. And,
Did you include a zoning map of the current zones, or B1 and all that?
it's either under codes or documents, Matt. I wanna say under
Yeah, I was gonna
documents
say, if you
maybe.
send it to me, it's on there.
Yeah, check at the bottom of that maybe. There it is.
There it is.
Okay.
Okay, that's great.
We could probably put that under codes too if we want to, but it's,
And I did notice, did we have emails for trustees?
Yes.
Okay.
it's under your
Yeah,
picture
they're
and
all
social
there.
term limit.
If you
Good.
go to
Or-
And the terms
Yeah.
also.
Yep.
Okay,
I think we
great.
said no.
No phone numbers,
phone
yeah.
numbers.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what we did is we went ahead and we added the terms also next to,
Yeah,
if you look
great.
by Harry there, and
Look at that good looking fella right there. Well,
That one fills out the frame.
hey!
You gotta learn to turn it sideways.
Boy, Tom,
Tell you what, I'll be filling him out here in a minute.
You do lift 10 pounds heavy.
Is that a zoom lens or what?
Damn it, Dick.
Looks great.
All right.
Slamming. Dark colors.
Don't try to.
Well, basically,
Now you're
if
pissing
anybody
backwards.
wants to go look over it after tonight, you guys all have the link in your email, and if not, you just tell me when you want it to go live, and I can get it under the real domain and get it done.
Do we have it? Do we
Turn
have
it on or
it?
not?
I think we're ready.
Yeah, we are not changing domain names, so everybody knows that, it's still gonna be the
No,
same.
I just put
Yes,
it on
sir.
there so we can
Yeah.
view it live as we were going along.
Do we have anything going out to all the residents here in the near future that we can put it on?
The
Our water bill.
That, I was thinking of that. Put it on the water bill. Please visit our newly
Yeah,
updated.
new
You know, because everybody
We can-
that don't come to the meeting
we
don't
can
know this
put-
is went on.
We can put a message on water bills.
That's a great thing, John.
It'll be short, but we
We can tweak this. We can make changes to it.
Sure.
Matt
Oh,
said it's
yeah.
fairly easy to do, so.
Well, I would say, change the Jacksonville to South Jacksonville thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Then go
easy
live.
fix, that's a fun.
Yeah, then go
one.
live.
I was just thinking of that timing, like, somebody's gonna go to that, and then they're gonna complain, and even though we already know about it.
That's fine.
So
That's a fine and replace.
South
that's easy.
Jacksonville,
Yeah.
IL.
No, it's
So
gonna
we'll
be,
keep
this is just
South Jacksonville,
it's still gonna be the same.
No,
What is
no,
it?
no, we were talking about it in the
SouthJacksonville.org.
businesses.
Oh,
Yeah,
They're all just labeled Jacksonville and
Oh,
South
yeah,
Jacksonville.
yeah.
So we'll just add south in front of Jacksonville for all the businesses.
So we can turn it on right now, effective.
Yeah, I haven't, Tiffany sent me the login info for her
Okay, let's
solutions
go for
today.
that.
so-
And the news media needs to maybe get that out to the new domain site, will be southjacksonville.il.
no,
It
no,
may
no,
take-
No?
No,
nope, there's no new domain site.
no.
This is just what he's
This was just so you guys could view the changes while we were
Just temporary.
temporary domain. So we'll publish it to the southjacksonville.org domain.
Without the IL,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
just,
It's ready to go.
a temporary, so you can keep up with changes. So,
I really thank you again, Tom, Matt.
Yeah,
put a
thank
lot of
you.
work on this.
It looks good.
And
we can
department heads
change
too, you
anything
guys
as
all
ideas come up.
edited and
I'd have gave you my 2 cents, Tom, if you would've made that a comment, but. I'm kind of butthurt about that right
It really hurt your feelings?
now.
All right. Well,
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Excellent job, thank you.
Thank you. And Tiffany, I'll go with you tomorrow.
perfect, thanks, Matt.
all right.
Kudos to everybody involved.
Insurance.
Steve signed. Steve was taking.
Look at this guy.
I don't blame you. This guy can tell everybody.
Y'all got some ball player.
Well, thank you for letting me join you at tonight's meeting. My name is Stephen Simons. For those of you who don't know me, I'm here representing the Diamond Brothers Insurance Agency. For those of you who have been here for a number of years, or even for those of you who haven't, you probably expected to see Steve Turner in this seat. Steve has occupied this seat and done an excellent job of doing so for many, many years. He has been trying to train me or educate me for the past 3 years so that I could succeed when he retired. However, most of you know he had some health issues earlier this year, the springtime, and that moved forward his plans for retirement. The good news is that he is healthy and doing well. I guess depending on how you look at it, the bad news is that he chose to retire a little sooner than he would have otherwise. But I would be remiss if I did not pass along his sincere gratitude to the village for the many years of business. Steve very much enjoyed serving the village, and so if you happen to see him, let him know that maybe you appreciate the work that he did for the village as well. With that being said, I'm here with some good news, I think. As you know, the village is insured through the Illinois Municipal League Risk Management Association. Please don't laugh at my cheap glasses. I get laughed at everywhere, but it serves the purpose.
Oh, if you'd have had them umpiring softball, it'd have been a little better.
Yeah, that's probably what you're. I feel like Morpheus glasses. Those are awesome.
$3 for $39. Just
That's awesome.
news, NOZ.com. Okay, so each of you has a packet. They are identical, other than the president and treasurers have some additional information at the back. Good news is that IML has not assessed a premium increase for the coming year, which is great news. I'm afraid we won't be saying the same thing a year from now, but we'll enjoy the consistency for the time being. At any point during this presentation, feel free to ask questions, to speed me up, to slow me down, what have you. Insurance is a complicated issue. I don't want to try to bore anyone with it, provide you with more information than you want, but it's also a very important issue. So if you have questions, don't stop to ask me.
My big thing is right away, I just want to tell everybody that's huge when you said there's no increase, because for the past 4 years, we've had 10% increase, 12% increase, 8% increase, big money. So that's humongous that we don't have any increase this year.
I would agree. As Steve has done in prior years, I did this year as well, try to secure some comparison quotes. With the loss history, we had no takers. I checked with some other carriers who specialize in municipality insurance, and frankly, they just said they want to see your what are called loss runs, your loss history, and once they see that, they say no thank you. So, you know, we had hoped that back in, when was it, 2015, when Officer Fitzgerald's fatality took place, or 16, I'm sorry, we were getting closer to where that, typically carriers will look at 5 years back. And we're approaching that time. However, we've had another significant loss this calendar year, so that may have set us back a little more. I assure you, every year that comes about, Jason, you're looking confused. Every year we have the opportunity.
I'm just paying attention.
Okay.
That's just the way he looks.
I didn't want to say that.
He knows me.
Your policy is like an annual contract. So your premium is set at the beginning. It's not to change, barring any changes in your coverage for that year, but we can try to reprice it every year, and we will continue to do so. I'm afraid next year we're probably looking at another increase with loss this year, but we'll do everything we can to try to minimize that. In your packets, the first page, there's about a 3-page summary. The first page, I'll just start at the top. Total buildings, village-owned buildings and contents come in at just over $6.8 million. If you want to see what makes that up, if you flip back towards the back of the packet, about the 9th page from the back, you'll see a page that looks like this that says property schedule at the top. And that gives a breakdown of every village-owned property, as well as the limit of coverage that is provided for the building and the contents within that building. These limits have been reviewed with the different department heads, not only for the property, but for the equipment that floats on and off premise, as well as the vehicles that are, I don't want to say owned by each department, but that are used by each department. On the report here, you'll see that there's quotation marks around special causes of loss. So in the insurance world, you can insure your property and your contents for something called basic peril, broad peril, or special cause. Special cause is the broadest type of coverage available, and that's what you have. Essentially, it provides coverage for, I won't rattle off all the different things, but perils including things like fire, lightning, explosion, smoke, sinkhole collapse, volcanic action, weight of ice or snow, water damage, which does not mean flood, but water damage, for instance, from a leaking appliance, that is covered. There are about 15 different perils that are included. Then special cause goes one step further and says we will include coverage for anything unless we specifically exclude it in the policy. So in the policy there are certain exclusions for things like war, nuclear attack, fungi, mold, things like that. Essentially, if it's not excluded in the policy, there is coverage. So you have the broadest type coverage available. A $500 property deductible. Flood and earthquake are included in your coverage. Those, however, have a $25,000 deductible. So in order to file a claim for flood or earthquake, the loss would have to be pretty significant. I'm losing my voice. I sat there long enough. Then some additional coverages, extra expense. Just to give you a quick idea, the legal definition of extra expense I typed out is, it's defined as additional costs in excess of your normal operating expenses that you incur to maintain operations while your property is being repaired or replaced. Simple explanation would be the water plant goes down. Extra expenses might be renting of maybe this isn't a good example, renting of a new facility to maintain operations that you didn't have previously. It might be sending out notices to all of your water customers that, you know, we're making these temporary plans or temporary whatever. Anything that you wouldn't have incurred otherwise if that loss had not occurred. So there's that coverage included. Loss of business income sort of goes hand in hand with the extra expense. What would a good example for the village be? A retail store is a much easier example. The retail store has a fire, they're closed down for 5 months because they're repairing the business. They're not seeing the business come in, they've lost out on the revenue. This helps to replace that revenue. For the village, I think that might be hard pressed to lose out on revenue necessarily.
Well, not really, because we sell water. So that would be, I think, that would come in there. I would assume, right?
If you're not able to provide the water somehow,
Yeah.
and you weren't able to receive the payment from the customers, then it would help to replace that, yes. Money and securities, $50,000 on or off premise, I think that's rather self-explanatory. Ordinance or law, that's a little tricky. For the building that we're sitting in, we do have $67,000. That's 10% of the building limit included. Essentially what that says is, should the building be damaged and you have ordinances in place that would require new items be included when the building is repaired or replaced, for instance, I don't know that this building is it big enough for a sprinkler? You probably already have a sprinkler, but let's say we're sitting in a building that is large enough to require a sprinkler system, but you were grandfathered in before that ordinance took place. The new building would require a sprinkler. This would help cover that additional cost to pay for the sprinkler, or handicapped restrooms, elevators, things like that. Property of others is included. And then valuable papers and records, we're seeing that not be as concerning perhaps as it used to be with the digital age. We don't keep as much paperwork, but in Corey's prior life, or Corey's life and my prior life, when abstracts and things were very popular, you probably have a lot of mobile maps and things like that should they be damaged by fire or water, you might need to reproduce them. And that can be very expensive. So there's $50,000 included for that. Any questions on any of that property coverage so far? Okay, we'll move on to mobile equipment. I sat down with each department head to review the mobile equipment. Rich for the fire department, Tim for police, and John for utilities. And we reviewed all of the equipment to make sure that we're insuring them accurately. And again, back towards the back, you'll see a list of all of that mobile equipment by department. Any questions on those are probably better suited for the department heads than for myself. But just know that we review those every year, and they can be adjusted annually or any time during the year. Employee dishonesty. The limits shown there are 100,000 blanket coverage for all employees, except for those who are required to have a separate bond. The separate bonds are for the village president, village clerk, and village treasurer. Those are $50,000 bonds apiece, and those are position-based. So should one of those individuals leave office during their term, the bond doesn't go away or have to be replaced. It fills that position. Then there's also a $5,000 bond for your village attorney. $100,000 of forgery coverage is included with a $500 Auto liability, very important. Auto liability, one good thing the Illinois Municipal League does, they offer essentially an $8 million per occurrence limit for almost all liability exposures, including auto liability. So let's use the example of one of Tim's officers, they're en route they're responding to an accident, they T-bone someone, and they, heaven forbid, kill a couple people, and they're found liable for that. Your policy provides up to $8 million per occurrence for that accident. Now, the difference between the per occurrence limit and the aggregate limit is per occurrence is just what it says, per incident. Now, the aggregate is an annual maximum. So, heaven forbid that happens again later in the calendar year, you've got up to another $8 million available for that second claim. Now, those limits, not only, if you go on down the page, they don't only apply for vehicle liability, but they also apply for everything you see here. Maybe I didn't put it in here, but it includes your general liability, your law enforcement liability, for bodily injury, property damage, premise and operations, product liability, so on and so forth. Your employees are considered included as insureds, medical malpractice for EMTs, so on and so forth. The occurrence form that is indicated there won't mean anything to you, but it is very significant. That's the preferred method of providing liability coverage. That essentially means that should the loss occur during the policy term and it be reported during the policy term, coverage applies. So maybe something occurred in February, but it wasn't reported until August. As long as your coverage hasn't lapsed, coverage still applies. So that's the preferred method of coverage. And then it is important to note also that defense costs are within the limits. My sister's an attorney, so I can say this. Attorneys are very expensive, can be very expensive. Should you have a very involved suit or claim that goes on, any attorney costs will erode that $8 million limit. Hopefully we don't approach that limit, but just so you know, they're not in addition to your regular limit. If you go down to the part that says public officials and employment practices, you'll see that the same $8 million, $16 million limits occur. I want to take a moment and just define those for you because I think they're important to define. Public officials liability, rather than me recite it, I'll read you the legal definition. Public officials liability is defined as an exposure faced by public officials for wrongful acts such as actual or alleged errors, omissions, misstatements, negligence, or breach of duty in his or her capacity as a public official. So for those of you, that's very important. You have $8 million available per claim should someone find that you're liable for a wrongful act. If multiple losses occur during a calendar year, the village has up to $16 million to defend those. Employment practices is becoming, I'd say employment practices and cyber are probably the two most popular, is not the right term, but the two types of coverage we're hearing the most about here in recent times. Employment practices came to light with the Me Too movement. Essentially, employment practices liability provides coverage for wrongs that occur in the employment arena, such as improper firing, sexual discrimination, sexual harassment, negligent hiring, negligent supervision, that type of thing. So again, the fact that you have up $8 million available, that $8 million, for whatever it's worth, the majority of businesses, non-governmental bodies have maybe $1 to $2 million as an occurrence limit, and maybe 2 to 5 as an aggregate. So this is a very generous limit. So you should have some comfort in that. Work comp. Work comp, I think everyone understands, that protects the village for injury or sickness that an employee should sustain. It provides not only full medical coverage, but it also will provide a somewhat replaced income benefit for that employee for as long as they remain on benefit. I'm almost done. Equipment breakdown is defined here. Equipment breakdown is a very important coverage. It applies, it covers certain losses that property coverage doesn't cover. Things like power surges, things like any apparatus that conducts electricity is covered by equipment breakdown coverage. John knows very well the loss we had out here at the lift station on South Main. It was an equipment breakdown situation because of the, I think it was struck by lightning, if I recall, and that's where the loss fell under that equipment breakdown coverage. Illinois Municipal League offers this coverage through Travelers. So it's sort of outsourced to a third party. That did create a bit of an issue with that loss, as an understatement, trying to convince the Travelers that they should honor that claim, but they did finally come through and pay for that. Finally, the last part of your coverage is cyber liability. I just returned from a 3-day seminar in West Des Moines, Iowa, where we spent about 8 hours on cyber. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to oblige. If not, I won't waste my breath. Essentially, it protects you for things including data breach, a breach of your system, website content. I don't know that you store a lot of personally. I don't think you do. Although you probably do store some employee confidential information, socials and things like that. So there is a potential there for breach of that. One of the main things that we see even here locally is extortion threats, where you come in one day and your computer system is locked down and you get an email that says, in order to get access back to your system, we require $100,000, or we're going to release all of this information. Well, you have, I will say the Municipal League's coverage for cyber is not that broad. I don't know that I don't want to say that. Some people could say that your exposure for cyber is not that great either. If money were no object, which it certainly is, I might recommend that we think about a broader cyber policy. However, as we'll see in the next part, I know that the premium is very high as it is. So just know that if you should want to look at additional coverage, we can always do that. Okay, premium. Numbers there, Steve had always provided you with a history of the premium, and I did just as he did. This goes back, you'll see, to 2015 and every year moving forward. You have the numbers there in front of you per line item, with a total of $182,071, which is within $110, if I'm not mistaken, of a year ago. There is the opportunity to pay early and receive a 1% discount. And I put down at the bottom here, Tiffany, when that payment would need to be made. You can choose between a 1-payment option, a 2-payment option by December 20, or you can still do a 2-payment option going into the middle of next year, but then you pay a little bit more. That is entirely up to you. Any questions that you might have so far?
What was done in the past?
Historically, it's always been divided into, and appropriations this year went along with that. So if you wanted to change that, you would just have to make an amendment to the appropriations too, which you can do. But
So they
you
just
have to
always,
do it.
and they always have to pay the 1% before?
Yes.
So they just paid the 1,800,
Right.
On the auto, I saw that.
which I get, I mean, that's,
Yes, I noticed that.
that's a stiff, you know.
It is. It's
Right.
money in your pocket, but it's also cash flow, so
Right.
that's always been, you know. Steve always provides me after this with like a breakdown of, by department too, and
Yes.
are you able to, can you give me that later?
Yes,
then
and it's
too? Okay.
actually in here, a little further back. Let's see here. I think it's what, if you go to, it's about the 5th page back, I think that's what he's given you in the past. If not, I can provide it in a different format. And that should be a breakdown of premium by department. So you'll see for the work comp line, the first column, and then the different departments are on the left-hand side. And then for liability, property,
It looks
equipment.
different, but
I've got it, I struggled to try to put this in a readable format, so
okay, well, no, that, it looks like the gist of it, yeah. I mean, if I have a question or two, I can call
Absolutely.
you or whatever. Okay,
Yes.
perfect, thank you.
IML does offer what's called a min-max option. I'll take just 30 seconds to explain it. I don't think you'll want to go with that. It would not have been beneficial. Okay. Essentially, if you can control your losses, you can save as much as 15% on your premium, but if the losses aren't controlled, you can lose as much as an additional 30% of your premium. With the recent history, I don't think we want to go there, but maybe it's something to work towards.
Yeah.
And see what was alive against that.
Yes,
in the past several years.
there's more downside than upside, I'm afraid. The rest of it, I'm gonna let you peruse. I'll just tell you what are on the pages. The next page gives a nice and interesting history of the premiums that have been paid each of the past about 10 years as compared with the losses that the carrier has paid out on. We know that 2015, actually really the 2016 calendar year included Mr. Fitzgerald's fatality. That caused it was a high loss. 2017-18 was the lift station on South Main, and then this 2019 calendar year was the lightning strike back on July 3rd out of the water plant. So I think it's fair to say that the municipal league has no disrespect meant. Professionally, we're fortunate that they have agreed to continue carrying your coverage. I don't know what we would do if they decided not to. It was, as John knows, John and I have had some very, I think beneficial maybe, pointed conversations, meetings with some of the IML folks this year, and I appreciate John getting involved in that. It was a direct question to them, will you renew the village's coverage? And they were very,
Wasn't even a question.
correct. So we're lucky there. So anyway. Yes. Okay. I thought we had done that.
I probably did too, so.
2010 year.
Yep, there goes the fire. There you go, thanks.
Hope I'm not talking as much as the cannabis guy did. That's about it. There's a couple more reports there. I think you can make those out. I'll open it up to any questions that anyone has.
This may cost us more money, but is our new, siren on?
When was that added?
It's, February, well, no, a little later than that.
Yeah, it was last fiscal year,
April,
though,
yeah.
yeah, you're right.
Vandalia and Belmont?
Nope.
No.
Love Drive.
Yeah, it wouldn't be on
I
there.
don't see
I don't
it.
see it, no.
That's
He's
why we
always
keep you
thinking.
around.
What's why?
That's gonna cost us more money, but I don't
Yeah,
want the damn
but it
thing to
needs,
fall over.
yeah, exactly, it needs to be covered.
Honestly, I don't know that it will cost any more money at this point.
That's great. I really
Next
like you
year.
guys.
But let's get it on.
Yeah.
Yes, hell yeah.
Now,
I'll get you the details.
just a full disclosure, so municipal league for most buildings, they offer what's called essentially guaranteed replacement. So for other businesses who have buildings, you know, you have a replacement cost figure. If it goes over that, that's out of your pocket. Municipal league says, we, the municipal league, that evaluate what it would take to replace your building. They set the limit, and they say if it actually costs more than that, they eat the difference.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. However, for utilities type equipment and property that's out in the open like a siren, that's up to you, the village, to determine what the value is, and you're limited to that. So we'll need to know a figure for that siren.
That's easy enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll forward
We
that
just
to you
paid
right now.
for it, it's new, so we should know a number.
Okay, and if anything, I would err on the side of being a little generous with it, because that will be your cap.
Well, they're not gonna get cheaper, I'm sure.
No, they won't.
And if it's not expensive.
25,000.
No.
Yeah.
No, I can talk all night, my kids will tell you, but
On the workers' compensation, is that what they pay out? Is that something is that a statute made by the insurance company, or is that a statute that's made by,
Good question. Yeah, it is.
because like mine is, let's say 66% they pay
Mhm.
of whatever your allotted weekly gross is. So is that the same just across the board, or is that
Yes.
statute by you?
No, it's
Okay.
the work comp laws apply across the board regardless of what company is providing it.
Okay. all right.
Now, the only thing, not the only thing, the main thing that each company provides is the cost. They can
Right.
set their own rate. So, but as far as the benefits go, they're mandated by work comp law. Everyone offers the same.
Okay, all right.
It's essentially a commodity wherever you get it the cheapest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it, I'm gonna forward this to him, I've got 19,995.
That's right.
I think so.
When they said England, that's why I said 25
Yep, that's
instead, yeah, but that's right.
Thank you.
19,995.
Yeah, I'll just forward this invoice to you.
Okay.
Is your new building on down there? Is your new building on?
Yes, we did put the new building on. I thought I might let him know when it was complete, but we should have put it on there. We talked about
I
it.
believe we did.
Yeah.
Just make sure we did.
Because I'm just showing 3 buildings here under utilities, so and you have 3 buildings. Currently, it should be 4, shouldn't there?
Yeah, and the years of them are old,
We'll visit that again.
78, 75, and 70.
Because I mean,
I'll
that's,
get with you this week, we'll visit that to make sure. I thought.
well,
we-
here's the salt shed, so that's.
Where's it
before
at?
I've got- It's
Right,
down there.
yeah. Wait, I think it's on there, but Steve
Oh,
and
it's
I-
under street maintenance.
Stephen and I will
Right,
check.
okay,
to
so
make
just
sure.
make-
Yeah,
just making sure
absolutely.
it's on there.
I'm certain we did.
I think we did too. Yeah.
I'll get with you this
Okay.
week, we'll make sure.
That's good.
Yeah, there is 4, so that would be right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll still get to
Just I'm sure it's gonna go up as you finish it, then
Yeah.
Right, and that's why
the
we
rate's
make
gonna
sure.
change.
we're
Yeah, because you have to have something on it while you're looking at
covered. Right, yep.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Don't hesitate to call, email if you have any questions.
it. That was a joke about the,
Thank you.
Steve, that was a joke about the glasses. I respected you as an umpire. I don't want any stories to come out from what you see on that thing.
Thank you.
Steve?
Yes, thank you. Good to see you.
Steve.
Yes.
Don't forget
Oh,
that.
just leave it.
Thank you.
You can just leave that old phone, it'll be all right.
Hi, my name is Jake Zambaldi. I'm with Moran Economic Development. I'm a tip consultant
We're right
in
here.
Evansville, and Al got a hold of us and we helped him to prepare his redevelopment proposal and request for tip assistance here to the building. I believe that everyone is probably familiar with the project at this point. I believe it was discussed at a previous meeting. I don't, unless you guys really want me to go through the whole thing, I just really like to get to this point, and we are requesting assistance in the form of a reimbursement of 75% of the tip increment generated by the incremental tax revenue generated from the properties that he has proposed to develop. We're asking that this incentive lasts for the remainder of the life of the tip, which we believe is going to expire, I think, in 2037. And that the only limit to his ability to recover costs is limited by his amount of eligible redevelopment project costs as governed under the TIP Act of the state of Illinois.
I'm just passing out the figures.
Sure,
of what
yeah, I
went
believe that this
into
actually was
today.
provided by your own consultants
Yeah,
that,
so
that you
these-
guys use. We
That's the 75%.
had submitted a proposal to you that has our own independent projections within it to describe the benefits we believe the project brings to the community and compares that with the incentives that we are requesting. We feel like this is a very fair ask that actually is a win-win for both the village and Mr. Wewell in terms of his level of investment and the level of return that you're going to see in terms of incremental property tax revenues and sales tax revenues. A lot of the discussion is kind of centered around the financial figures that have been prepared. You guys might have just got that. I know I was speaking briefly with Gwen at the Economic Development Group regarding their evaluation of the project. We're pretty close on our anticipated property values and resulting tax revenues and sales tax revenues. We're just hoping that through your guys' TIP program, we're able to actually make this project become a reality. I know that without the provision of TIP incentives, the financial ability to complete the project in a manner which creates enough cash flow for it to be, for the risk involved to be worth it, it probably wouldn't occur without the provision of TIP incentives. Are there any particular questions that you guys have about the project or about the way that works? I'm not sure how you guys, your policies and guidelines are in terms of the way that you move through a TIF project. I kind of studied the Lowe's agreement a little bit. I'm sorry, the Love's agreement a little bit.
We're getting Lowe's? Sweet.
Well, maybe if the Lowe's gets wind that you're out to help developers, they might be interested.
That's right.
But I know that Mr. Weewell is a local guy, and I'm sure you guys all know him, and that the property has sat vacant for a countless number of years, and that it's just been really difficult to entice developers to that property. I feel like it's actually very fortunate that he's willing to take on the risk himself to undertake such an expensive and ambitious project for those pieces of property. And you know, he's just asking that you guys utilize the tool that you put in place to help encourage these types of development to provide support for this project.
I'm gonna add to yours. I don't wanna confuse anyone that's looking at these. On the back side of that 75%, you'll see a 50% development. That was never asked for. I never asked Gwen for that.
She
We
always
will never ask for that.
sends
She
50.
sends that just as a basis for you to look at also, but I don't want anybody to think that that was like summoned on purpose, you know what I mean? So I don't want anybody to get confused on that. That's why that's included though.
Yeah, she always sends 50 as a baseline, so.
So that you have that to compare to. There's one more thing that I did not understand, and I'm willing to bet most of you, if not all of you, didn't either, and you might have, and maybe I was the only one that didn't. But for new projects that are exempt from the 40% surplus,
Right,
our share of that is not exempt from that.
our share of what?
Our share of that is not exempt from that 40%. I thought the entire thing was. Our share is not. So, if we do a 50-50 split, 50% of that is not exempt from that 40% that's gonna have to go to the taxing bodies.
Put this in real money.
Okay, if you have $100,
Alright,
and we're gonna split it 50-50.
right,
Okay,
50 to him, 50
$50
to
for that,
us.
right away, goes to him.
Right,
Our $50 still is going to be 40% to the county,
Like it did for out there.
absolutely.
then,
Which is still fine, it's still, you know what I mean, we're still not shelling out any more money. It's not gonna be like Bartlett, because this is after the fact, you know, and it's different, so we're not gonna lose
40% of the 50 or 40% of the 100?
40% of the 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our
Just-
share.
Cause he gets
Right.
50 right off the rip.
Right.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
I just wasn't
But
sure
then
where they
40
were
of our-
calculating it for. Okay.
And our administrative costs, all of that can be taken off before we divide, you know, and do the 75%. I didn't know all that, so I don't know if any of you did or not.
No.
I did
No,
not
I
understand it
didn't.
that way.
I didn't know that
So
that they
that's-
were going to get the 75%.
Right, so this is
Yeah,
where I
or
just have emails
whatever.
from Gwen, and she said it to me, and I said, and I seriously read it 5 times, and I came back to it the next day, because I thought, am I reading this right? And I asked her to spell it out for me, and I said, oh, this, and that's how it is, so.
Who's gonna get the 75% of the other 50?
If Mr. Wewell gets the 75%, our 25% share, we're still going to have to pay 40% of that into the taxing bodies. You're still money ahead.
So
from-
what she's saying is if we had $100, he's gonna get 75, we're gonna get 25, but out of the $25 we get, 40% of that $25 is going to go to the,
Absolutely.
to them up
To
there.
the county.
let
And
the
you're gonna get
dollars
your
just go in the
surplus share
account.
back then, you know, but I just don't want anybody thinking that you're getting the full 25%. And the whole thing is not exempt, because just the developer's share is exempt, and I did not
Is there
understand.
anything that makes that exempt, that 40%?
No, the.
It's that way no matter what?
Yes.
But we're not,
According to the intergovernmental.
but we're not going negative like we
Right.
Correct.
did with the,
Right.
Understand where that
Right.
40%'s going.
It goes to the county
Because they cut
treasurer's
a
office.
deal, Walter cut the deal, that 40% of this goes to the county.
Right, and the
County-
county
county
distributes.
and the
County,
school.
they're gonna take they're gonna take 40% out of our
40% of our
cut.
25%.
Yeah,
but we had to make that deal to get the extension.
right.
Had we not done that, there would have been
No
no more 12
extension.
years, yeah,
Right.
so
Yes.
it's worth more money now than it was. But it's the cost of doing business, honestly,
Yeah.
the cost of having that pit. So just so everybody, I know that's a hard concept to
Well, again, we're not going in the hole.
We're not,
Exactly.
as long as
That's
we're
the
not,
main
as
thing.
long as we're not going in the hole, I
We're
think
not.
it's still a good
Right.
deal.
Yeah.
These lots have been sitting vacant for a long time. I know there's been a hard push from Mr. Weevil to try to get them developed. This is a big number for the 75%, but I honestly think this is what it's probably gonna take to get them developed. And my recommendation is move forward with it.
I've got no problem with it.
I was so excited when I saw the property across from the theater. What I was so excited when I saw that, because I've thought that would be a great place for something since I was in high school. When I didn't know anything about developing, I just knew like, man, it'd be cool if you could eat like right next to the theater. So I was so excited when I saw that, and 40 or 60% of 25% is still 100% more than we're getting right now,
Your bet.
basically. So at that point, it's found money.
So this development is only on half of that, correct? Even all three of the, or is it the whole?
It's per phase, it's spelled out,
I know, but I thought
I believe all
in
three
the
parcels
presentation
are-
last time, he said it was still only half.
There, this is 2/3 of that land, and there's still one lot on the end.
That will still be
There's
vacant.
two owners of that whole square.
Jimmy Payne owns that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Will
That
that be
on
the
the
lot
north
next
end-
to Minor
north end is
Drive,
owned
or
by
will it be on
somebody
the other
else.
end?
Okay,
It's down next to the car wash.
The three splits he's talking
Okay.
about would be included in this.
right, okay. I knew there was something kind of.
So Pate is retaining his lot.
He's always had it, yeah.
Okay.
if there's nothing Gwen's waiting on from Mr. Wewell or his TIF people or attorneys at this point. So all I need is the word go, and we can get an agreement drawn up if you want to vote on it at the November meeting, or if you want to talk about it more, or if you have any more questions. That's,
Let's see what I can, put it in the November meeting.
So
Yeah.
you would make it
Unless
happen.
anybody-
I think
Yeah.
we're, I mean, if everybody's, I think we're to the point where it's either straw poll of yes or no, and if we're ready, then, yeah, we can have an action item, we can have the ordinance ready for the November.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
perfect.
We'll have your ordinance ready on the 7th board meeting, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yep, thank you.
20-ounce ribeye.
Right. We call it
Special
the
discount.
porterhouse, yeah.
He told me just to drink, jeez.
I didn't get anything.
Right. What was it, what was the name of the candy one, the, John Candy ate?
The old 96er.
The old 96.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Bank account reviews, do we have numbers for those today, or?
Corey's here.
I'm here.
You turned all the way around, did I?
Come on up, you can sit up here.
Right, well, yeah.
Hot seat.
Yeah, sit down, I feel like I'm
You
in
don't-
trouble here.
You don't, you don't have to.
Let's sit down here, let's have a meeting.
Any comments about his glasses?
But I know, right, do I need to take these off?
No.
Might be better or worse for you without them, I don't know. Basically, this is the same thing that I have is the proposal we dropped off last month after we talked. What we were looking at kind of proposing to you guys was, not just the tourism account, but some of the other accounts to move over. And, basically proposing the same thing that we did the last time, a fixed rate option of 1.5%, which would apply to the tourism account, the village acres escrow account, the general savings account would be at the 0.85 on the general checking account, and then the water and sewer security deposit account would remain an interest-free account, which is what you guys, from my understanding, what you guys would need it to be. So we would offer either those fixed rate options, or you could do those same accounts, and we could just do them all in that type of variable account that, or what you guys have right now in the regular accounts that we have over there at the bank.
So is that from the August 7th?
This would be the October 1st
Okay.
one that we dropped off. I didn't bring
I
the
think
extra,
I
apologize.
updated it, yeah, I think I
What's the rate
updated
at
it.
right now?
2, I think he just said, didn't you?
What, so on the variable rate,
No, the.
is that what you're asking?
No, I'm saying, what's the rate right now, the going rate? Because I know last time you said it was like 1.7.
Yeah, so on the variable rate account, it has now went down a little bit, it's 1.58 is where the variable rate accounts
Okay.
are. So they
I know
have
you did
been.
too, didn't
What's that? Yeah, I heard you trying to. I'm good at that. I'm good at that. Yeah, okay. So yeah, so the variable rate accounts have went down some since the last meeting. They were 1.63 on the last
Yeah,
proposal.
that's what I
And I
heard.
think the one before that, maybe it was 1.74, something like that. So they have went down a little bit. As of yesterday, it bounced back up a little bit, but it reprices at the beginning of every month. So I don't, kind of like I said last meeting, if I knew how to tell you for sure what rates were gonna be, I'd be making a lot more money and I'd be in a yacht somewhere, so. But the other thing I did want to point out to you guys, of course, you have some accounts with us right now that are in that variable rate account. So if it's something where you guys are wanting to move these accounts and you want to do that fixed rate option, I think it's just something for you guys to discuss and decide, do you want to put those current accounts on a fixed rate also? And then we're happy to do that for you if that's what you guys decide to do, but don't want you to decide, hey, we want to move this, we want a fixed rate, and then we leave those other accounts variable, rates drop, down really low, and then you guys are mad at me for not telling you about that. So we want you, just want you guys to be aware, whatever option you decide, we're willing to adjust those other accounts to suit you guys, so.
Would you sweeten up the rate on the water sewer revenue account? Actually, you said that, but that wasn't part of that proposal.
Let's see that.
Because we already have that with you.
Yeah, the ones right now, they're in the variable rate account.
All
That you
those
have.
are?
Yeah,
Okay,
everything. The
okay,
only thing that
gotcha,
wasn't was
okay.
the tourism account.
Okay, I
So
see.
yeah, all the other
Okay.
ones have been getting
So those
the
have been
good
getting a
rates
higher
all
rate
along,
anyway.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep, yeah, so everything else has been
Okay.
getting the higher rate.
Perfect, okay.
I mean, it was just the tourism one that
Gotcha,
got
so
put,
that's why.
because it was
Okay.
open later.
Okay.
All the other accounts were open, I think, when the bank
Right.
was open there, and that's why they got the special account.
Here's one thing I will ask the board to consider, and this is no reflection of your bank whatsoever.
Yeah.
But right now, we have general checking accounts open at 2 banks, and my system cannot handle a third. So we need to wait until one of them is completely closed out before we entertain the idea of moving the general checking. General savings, we're down to 1. Checking takes longer because you have outstanding check. So at some point in the near future, I'm gonna come to the board and ask you if I can go ahead and close this account with these checks still outstanding. And that'll be pretty soon, honestly, because we're down to I think 5 maybe,
Okay.
But just so you know, I can't have 3 general checking accounts, there's just no way. And then, as far as the tourism, we still have that account open at FMB. I wanna say 48 grand, something like that in
Yeah,
it.
there's 40 something in there.
And then the rest is at Prairie State, so, but I just want you to keep in mind
That was kind of a board transition too, Tiff. Are you guys, is John, and Corey knows I love FNB, but he cut a deal on the loan
He did.
that he gave based on certain accounts being
He
moved.
did.
If you pull those accounts,
I checked with John.
She did ask him.
Yeah, he did say he would give a 1.6% on the tourism account.
This is who?
John Roan at Prairie State, where the accounts are
Okay.
now. He said he would give a 1.6 on the tourism, but that if we did choose to still pull it, he would still honor the rest of the agreement.
I was gonna say, I think you said that last meeting, that there was no middle here that we
Right,
could
yeah.
break out.
He did say he would honor it,
Right.
which is pretty cool, because that was one of my big concerns, Tim,
Sorry.
because it was a
We had
package.
brought, we did
Yeah.
bring that up. No, that's a good question.
Because it was a package deal. No, that's.
Yeah, I was just saying,
We
you
said the
did
same
say
thing.
that at the last
Yeah,
meeting, so.
but yeah, John, like I said.
You must not have been here. I think you left early.
Yeah, next slide.
Yeah.
Somebody was on vacation.
Oh, that's right, you were on vacation.
my apologies.
What, you mean you didn't watch it back?
I tried, my feed was.
Oh.
You can't blame the feed. Good, Google runs that. Click subscribe, hit the bell for notifications.
Well, I think personally, we should move the tourism account back. I think when we switched this, it was because of the loan. And we asked of you guys to come back to us and communicate with us. You have been at every meeting. And you also are the only South Jacksonville bank. And to me, that means a lot, because I think we asked, and I think I remember you saying, well, where are they? Because you weren't at one meeting. And that got us all thinking, and you've been here every single time.
Well, when it's, there's been a couple meetings I haven't.
But
been
you
at,
weren't on the agenda, so anytime we've asked you to
Anytime we're on the agenda,
come.
we'll be here, so. And like I think I said last time, that was kind of a misstep on our part. I didn't realize, Barb and I came that one night, I thought we were good and done, and then we didn't come to the next meeting, and And I know now, I've learned,
Right.
so.
Well,
we've
Hours
learned.
and hours and
Yeah,
hours.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which this is interesting, I enjoy the meetings.
I missed one and I'm the chief of police.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
And I think our
Do
whole
you live
point
in
was,
South Jacksonville?
What's that?
Do you live in South
Not any
Jacksonville?
longer.
You need to, because then we could put you right in as a trustee.
No, sir. I think that'd be a conflict of interest.
Oh, no, oh, no.
I think so.
you can just recuse yourself.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you go.
I think if I sign up for any more boards, my wife might be after me.
It'd be all right.
Pretty heavy in United Way. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, United
The
Way.
only thing I
Rotary,
think that
and-
we need to do is instead of every 6 months, we look at this thing at every year, or
Yeah.
2 years.
I'd say 18 months, 2 years.
Something, whatever.
Well, and I think the only reason you did 6 months is because we took it away.
With the way it was,
Yes.
I agree.
You're right.
And don't you think that they have, everything you asked of them, they've done?
It's
They've
been,
done-
it's
I
been
know I-
redeemed and things
Yes.
are fixed. I'd say we remove, I'm sorry.
But it
Move
just
back
needs
to
to,
the
Move
TIF
back.
account.
it just needs to be on a,
Tourism,
Tourism,
sorry,
right.
tourism.
it needs to be on a year and a half or something,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
cause this 6
So
month
if,
deal.
if we move that, then what do we still have at Prairie then? The general fund,
General fund, we've got a CD around $100,000, a little under. General fund, general checking. The Reed Acres escrow account, but we're gonna close that pretty quick anyway to pay for Holiday Lane. And water sewer
there's
security
no,
deposit.
there's no more CD at Jacksonville Savings.
No.
There's,
No. Every
We
CD
have something through
except
farmers,
for that
correct?
$100,000 one will be at FMB.
then we have something through Farmers, correct?
Only what's still hanging out there. I still have a couple checks hanging out in general checking, and I still have a couple checks hanging out in the water sewer security deposit. Like I said, I'm gonna give it another month or two, and I'm gonna come to you and ask you, can I go ahead and close these? And we're gonna call these checks void, and,
That's the only money we had at Farmers was in a checking account.
right, 2 checking accounts, yep.
Right. Oh, sorry, go ahead,
I'm finished. You're on.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
So can we put this as an action item? I mean, is everybody
Yes.
ready to vote for it? Or on
For
it?
the tourism account.
Right.
correct? Yes.
Yeah.
What about obviously you're saying we can't move one for a while, but,
TIF, just
I mean,
so
what's the
everyone-
ultimate result here that we wanna do? Do we wanna move everything back to him, or you wanna keep something separate, or what's? Cause, I mean, he's here wanting to know whether we're gonna, you know,
I think FMB is a great bank. They're local. We get awesome service from them. I think it's a little much for a municipality maybe to put all of their dollars in one bank,
I
is my
agree.
opinion.
I agree.
But it's up to the board to decide.
What about the legality of it? I mean,
I don't know about the legality. I just
can you
think
cover
that.
it, you know, or FDIC?
Well, I mean, we have to, we
have
we
to.
back everything, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
so,
have to
yeah.
have enough collateral on all
Yep.
of our accounts.
Yeah, we make sure it's all
Yeah.
covered, so. And we can handle the extra accounts clearly.
This will move. I mean, since we moved those CDs, I mean, we do have a bigger balance with you than what we
Yeah.
have once we get the tourism back there. So I mean, it's moving in the right direction. I mean, and I don't think anybody's gonna have hard feelings if the general checking isn't there in the general.
And that's
savings.
free checks and free service, right?
Take care of you like we always do.
They waive everything. They
Yeah, we
waive
always
and-
have,
Yeah.
so.
And 4%.
Hey, hang on a minute, Tim, close your ears.
4%.
No 4%. No 4%.
Harry was
Yeah.
at 2.
I was at 2, yeah.
Yeah, he was trying 2, he's trying
Right,
4.
muffler right there.
Yeah.
Well, how about we move the tourism and then we can continue to look at the other accounts as they close out from the old banks and go from there.
Yeah,
With some kind of, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all. I kind of think that the stuff at Prairie State where we got the loan at, like, because that was kind of a deal in the initial part of it, I kind of feel weird about, even though they said no penalty for taking it out, I kind of feel weird about that because it was a part of it.
Good faith kind of thing.
And even if we don't, even if it's not in some set in stone contract, I feel like we got something for giving them that, and it, I don't know, it doesn't feel right to me to then take it away after getting the thing from them. But tourism, that's just one account. Happens to be one gigantic account, but it's just one account. So I feel like you guys would benefit greatly from the gigantic account. So I don't have a problem moving one, even if it's the biggest one, right?
TIF gets pretty up there too, but that is one of the terms of the loan. that the
That's
TIF had,
right,
and they
over
didn't
our
try to touch
conversation,
that.
yeah,
So-
we left like
of the
that
ones
one
that we
loan.
can
'cause-
move.
Right.
Yeah, because, yeah, from my understanding, yeah, TIF
Right.
was directly tied to the loan,
Absolutely.
so that one we did something with it.
So of the ones we can move, it's the biggest, right?
Yeah, and it was not tied to the loan at all.
Right. So that's just how I feel. Like, yeah, we'll take just one. So for anybody looking from the outside in, oh, they're moving an account back to the local bank. The other one's still keeping a bunch of our accounts. You guys get the big one. So
I think that it should have, some of them maybe should have stayed where they were before, even though it was better.
Mhm.
But obviously, they didn't get a chance to come give their, so, I know it's back and forth, but maybe,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
You're awful forgiving here. That's my thing. So that's,
End result is that it's been more revenue for
But here's the
village.
deal.
Yeah.
They knew that our accounts were 6%, or 6%, 6 months, and they're not sitting here trying to get our business.
no, that's right. I'm not arguing about that, but it took something to happen to get them off dead center
That is
to
true.
get them going.
That is
where we're
correct.
at.
Right.
it's one of those like
I know now I'm in trouble again, so.
it's one of those things where you look back.
We're on
for
track
me,
now.
Yeah,
you look
we're on
back in your
track
life
now.
and you're like, man, I wish
All
I
you
had
gotta
done
do is
that.
give me a call.
But then
That's
you're
our
like,
only penalty we
but
should
I'm where I
give
am
you.
today
If
because
you
I
ain't here,
grew
we're
up
pulling
with
our
that.
shit.
Yeah.
Give him your cell phone number.
You know what, he might, I don't know, he
He
probably.
said all you have to do is call
Say, all you
him.
gotta do is give me a call.
What the hell's your number?
Right, you don't, you have,
Don't
I
give
live
Dick
down, I
your
grew up down the
number.
street from you. You catch me down at mom and dad's just about any night.
It'll be on the
Lost my
Facebook
kid.
in half an hour.
There you go, yeah, I know, right, yeah, we don't need that.
Okay, but the only stipulation I would like to see is something that this would be reviewed again in
Put a time
whenever,
limit, yeah.
18 months or
18
something,
months,
whatever.
Yeah,
that is.
yeah, and what we put in there on the fixed rate one, would be that then like every year we would review that rate.
Okay.
For you guys, see where rates are at currently and.
What is
and
it
all that.
through them? Is it on a fixed or is it on a?
They were,
Thursday.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was the one he said, the 1.6.
So it makes no difference as to just a year from now, let's say. It makes no difference there. We just look at it and go from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
All right, no sweat.
What do you recommend? Are you recommending a year or 18 months or 2 years?
So the proposal we gave you, when we do like a fixed rate on an account like this, and especially that high one, we would like to every year revisit the rate and see where they are at that time.
Sure.
So, not to say that the account would have to leave or do anything, but if rates have shot up, rates can go up. If rates are at zero, it's not feasible for us probably to leave it at 1.5%.
Right.
If they dropped all the way out, so.
And are you able to then do the 1.5 for tourism without the general checking and all that? That's part of the proposal?
Yeah, we
Okay.
would do that. We're gonna work with you guys. We're
Okay.
not, we're not here to play hardball or
Okay.
anything like
You know
that,
what
so
I mean,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
when you're proposing a package, so, okay.
Yeah.
Well, if they get
We'll do
the
that.
biggest one out of the package, then they're gonna,
Sure.
That's a compliment.
I got a package called 1, 2.
Oh,
Alright.
moving.
It's getting a little thick over there. Any other questions for me at all?
See you at the next meeting.
That's right, I'll be back, right? First Tuesday? Yeah. So,
Thursday.
first Thursday, that's right, yeah.
But you can come Tuesday, but
I'll be
we
standing
won't be
up.
here.
Accounts will be gone by Thursday.
Yeah, I'll be sitting out there, my wife will be like, when are you coming home? I don't know.
Right, I'm waiting for them.
Yeah.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
Thank you.
As always, if you have any questions, let me know.
All right.
Otherwise, we'll see you back.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
We have and I sent out the email too, but we have a joint TIF review. I say we, there is a joint TIF review meeting on November 7th before a board meeting at 6 p.m. Everybody's welcome to come.
Go ahead. I just got-
Oh, and before I forget it, anybody else want to do it? Does anybody? If not, can you still do the Halloween candy for the?
Yeah, when is that?
The 24th from 5 to 8.
Thursday night.
Yeah, it's this
This
Thursday
Thursday?
night.
Thursday.
I'll
And
have-
where's it at?
It's at, do you know,
Fairland.
Fairland, the big barn.
You can dress as
I'll
you.
have all the
Shut your
candy
mouth
there.
right now.
I'll have all the candy.
What's that date?
Thursday night,
Yeah.
5 to 8.
You can dress up, dress up, whatever you want to do.
I'm glad I didn't hear what you said.
Kid, come here.
How about I just go in your uniform? How about that?
Hey, if you can get it on.
Yeah, the buttons might put somebody's eye out.
It's in 2 days?
Yes.
24th?
Yeah.
Thursday.
Todd, you in with me?
I'll be there for Reynolds.
Oh, really? Can we booth next to each other?
I don't care.
They're
They have them already set up.
Yeah, they've
I'm
already
sure,
got them
yeah.
set up, so.
They've been working
Oh,
on
really?
it.
Yeah.
Fine, Dave. Alrighty, I'll do it.
Alrighty.
I'd like to put him in after.
Well, that's why we were
Yeah.
just talking about, I was talking to Harry and him, I didn't want him to sit here for nothing
No,
if he could,
no, no.
because I know you guys were gonna talk about it, but.
Just put them in after finance?
just hang on.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay.
Cause he, yeah,
My
cause
tractor's broke
he's,
down, got hydraulic oil running out of it, so.
should've been comments from
That'll
before.
The, McCain TIF amendment request, that's for the $800 for gravel, right?
Yeah, it's whatever, John had that figure, what, was it 804?
809.
809, okay.
809.
Before we get any further, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What was the date you said the meeting for what? I was trying to get,
Oh, sorry, it's right before the board meeting at 6 p.m. It'll be here at 6 p.m.
That's
and it is for what?
It's a joint TIF review for all the taxing bodies that are members
Okay.
of the TIF.
Okay.
It's not for us.
Right.
It's
You
but-
just sit in on it.
But you guys are welcome to come.
Right.
Every
Okay.
now and then a county person will show up, or Steve Potasic, but not
Yes.
every time even, so, but they just go over it.
That's on the 7th, is that right? What that is?
Same night
Yes.
as our board
Same
meeting.
night
just
as
an
the
hour
board meeting, it's just an
before.
hour before. Yep.
Okay.
Is that
Thank
something
you.
that I
Sorry,
have to
sorry
do?
to interrupt.
No, no.
Oh, okay.
It
It's
doesn't
not-
make
it's
them
not a
up for
village
any of
meeting.
it.
Oh, okay.
The
gotta be here.
the amount they went over in the gravel was $809. So what we'd like to do is go ahead and do an amendment to that TIF agreement to add $809 for the confidential brush.
One says she can have it ready, all, receipts have been turned in, a lien waiver. She's got everything she needs, we just need to know that the board's good with making an amendment to disperse another $809 and we can make it happen.
But what we'd like to do is do an all one full suite. The board meeting, do the amendment, approve the payables, which would be the 809, and you could say
We do full
pursuant
amount.
of us
Mhm.
doing this.
Yeah.
And then when you get to that point, then you just do the amendment, do the ordinance, and that way it all goes out the same payment.
Good?
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
As long as it's all in the right order.
Yeah. Well, we do
Well,
payables
Well, you might do
first, but
payables
you,
first.
Okay.
but you make the way you could do that is make a motion to approve the payables with
Okay.
the 809 pending.
With the exception
good.
of.
Pending that the ordinance
Is passed.
for the 809 amendment does
Passes.
pass.
Yep.
Right.
And then
But
you
it
can
sounds
do the
good.
roll call and.
It's gonna
Right.
be one check.
And then later at the
Right,
end,
right.
we would do the action items for that, and then
Yeah.
assuming that passes, then that, so.
Sure,
Okay.
because that is in the right order.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sounds good.
So it'd kind of be the cart before the horse, because we do the payables before we do the ordinance, but you just have to make that,
Stipulation.
make that stipulation when
Yeah,
you do the,
sounds good.
What do you think, Tom?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
holiday lane funding.
Okay. We had talked about when we did budgeting and appropriations, that we put it in road and in TIF. Now, it's time to pay the piper. We've got the 44 grand about in escrow, that is gonna come, the reapers escrow.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that what the escrow was from
Which
back
is
in
general fund,
97,
but-
96,
How much is in there?
48. Well,
Nah,
40,
43, 44.
Yeah.
45 grand plus.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
or under just a little bit,
Right.
40, north of 40.
Yeah.
Okay.
We come in, you guys, if you remember, you approved, was it 225 or 250?
250, I wanna say.
Not to exceed. Well, we come in with the road, the patches we did, the entrance to the motel, all that at 205. And there's gonna be about 5,000 to 7,000 of engineering. So you're still looking at about around 210, 212, which is still well under what you approved. You just need to decide how you're gonna pay for it by, by November board meeting. And you guys were kicking it around how you were gonna do it. And that's up to you guys, so.
I guess I was confused. I thought they were concreting that back and not paving it.
No. The patches were concrete because they were all in the
Right.
concrete, but we were gonna do asphalt from there to where we'd stopped it on the Loves project.
Okay.
And bring it all up. And it's the road mix, so it'll handle the semis. It's not an
Okay.
issue.
All right.
Now, the patches that were done were concrete because they're out on the concrete road.
Right. All right.
So we have 40,000 plus in,
It's coming out of general, but it's a
It-
escrow account.
It's an escrow account that was there when
Yeah.
I
The
know.
previous
it was done,
developer.
and we held out around 100,000 because the sidewalks were not done.
right.
It sat there for all them years. We talked to the attorney. We dipped into that to do some sidewalks out there. After that, we said, let's leave that money in there for something out there. Now it is, if you buy a piece of property and you develop it, you have to put the sidewalk in.
Right.
So we had north of 40,000 left, which we checked with the attorney, said, yes, you can use it on the road improvements because it's still in the same subdivision, the same development. So we're gonna pull that out finally, clear that escrow out.
Okay.
And that's 40,000+ we don't have to come up with on this road project.
Where were we talking about the other 160 coming from?
It'd either
TIF.
be general or TIF, so.
Well, and this is why it's important, even more so, it's important anyway, but, it's gonna come from general, but it's gonna come from road. And road's already in the deficit, remember,
Well,
from
road
the
is-
audit, so.
The road is general.
Right, but it already is, that
Right.
fund is in a deficit anyway.
Right.
Which is the next point on here is that at some point, I'm with Suzanne and I would like to see the board gift general that money that's hanging out there, which it's not really a gift because it's all general anyway, but it's just a fund.
It cleans up the books.
Absolutely.
It cleans up the books.
So I mean, you're looking at, is general paying for it or is TIF when it comes down to it? But you can keep running road fund into a deficit and we can keep on stringing along in the audit.
Do we have any excess in TIF?
Do you ever have excess?
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's not excess. I mean, it's how you choose to spend it, you know?
The money's there. you know.
Is,
Yeah.
right, that's why he's getting at, is it all promised out, or is there some left that's not promised out that can be
You've
used?
got some that can be used.
Okay. I would say use a combination of both or some kind of split, out of the TIF and the general fund, just to keep us all dipping out of the general fund, myself.
My thoughts were use the escrow and then.
Well, definitely,
And use the escrow,
definitely that's going in. Take that right off the top.
That's my preference would be
So if
to
it's,
pay the general.
just say it was
from escrow.
210, well then you're only looking at 170.
Right.
And then you split that however you're gonna do it, but the 40+ comes right off the top before you do the
Think,
split.
you're the one doing the numbers, so.
I'd like to see the escrow account closed out and paid with that, and then the rest come from TIF, if you guys.
That's my thoughts too.
If the TIF can afford it, so.
Yeah, how much is in, extra is in TIF?
I don't know, off the top of my head, I don't know that it's, I mean, I know we have it that it's not spoken for this year or anything like that.
Ballpark.
Yeah, I'd like to know that before I say I want it to come from TIF.
Well, let's just,
I mean, we're not gonna,
Your treasurer's reports, let me go see if I can pull a,
All right.
let me grab them.
I can run one down, oh, never mind, no, I can't either.
That's all that is.
Fund deficit, never mind.
the road fund deficit.
She's
Yeah, well,
she's
that's what
gotta
you
cover
just-
that one too.
That was,
so-
well, that's what she was just talking
Well,
about.
while she's out there doing that, David Bob is for the codes. We kind of forgot to actually put him as an action item to officially hire him. So,
Okay.
Okay.
well, we all discussed actually offering him the position, and then just
so he called, and he's like, so am I hired, or?
technically not yet. So we'll do that next Thursday.
Okay.
Really?
Can we put Mr. Finch in now?
Yes.
Mr.
No, yeah, they got that wrong today.
Come on up to the seat.
Have a seat, partner.
Smell like diesel fuel oil.
What I think we left it last time was, we were just gonna kick it around the table,
Yeah.
what we were gonna do, cause I mean, he had said his, everything that you said,
Yeah.
that.
Basically.
Let me just hit you right between the eyes. Would you pay $200 an acre per year cash rent?
I probably would, yeah, I'd have to put a pencil to it for
Okay.
sure, yeah.
But I think I can talk to the rest of them here. If you would pay that, and let me dump, let me give these out. These are the average, let me give him one too.
I know what I got down the road, and
Yeah.
it smokes that for me, I don't have to do all the maintenance that I do on that one. That's the thing of it is, and I don't have that big of an operation anyway, but
Right.
I bought special
But
equipment.
$200 an acre, in my opinion, would treat you fairly. Cause I think it would cash rent if we put it out and bids and all that, it would go for more than that. But you pay $200 an acre per year and give you 2 years. And I think that's treating you more than fair and treating us fair. Our average income off this netted was about 4,900, but that ranged all
I
the
get
way
it,
from
that's all right, thank you.
6,500 down to $1,800 our share. So if we get an estimated $8,000 annual fee on it, I think we're treating everybody correct. That's my opinion.
Right.
You know,
And I'll be honest with you, that's what he told me. He said, I just want a shot to do it."
along with the deal that we still get to dump the leaves out there.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have no
Here's the
problem
thing,
with
he and I work together and have good for 23 years, 22
that. Yeah,
years.
22 years.
I never have an issue with him, he doesn't with me. So, but that's a good thing to put it in there, that, that he can come up and say, hey, well, which he's not going to
Yeah.
because we work good together, and that's all I wanted was a fair shot.
And,
Just to
and
do
I
it
think
without going
we're
through the
being more than
process.
fair, guys. I mean, anyway, you want to say something, say it. But it probably would bring more money, but it'd bring a hell of a lot more headaches. We know this guy. We've dealt with him forever.
Well, and he does
And it's
extras.
treating him
He's
right.
always
It's treating
done
us
extras,
right.
too.
We got a place to dump our leaves.
Yep.
That's what I would recommend.
And you can already count, I'm gonna be a headache, so.
We already know.
You're
You know,
more of a
I know I'm
posterior.
headache.
I would have to disagree with that. I don't know. I've been here 2.5 years. I never even knew your name before now.
Nice to meet you.
Well, I think one thing is that he has easement to get to that property.
Exactly. He's
Nobody
That's
else
not
does.
legal easement, but it's,
Well,
he's the only one that has
that's
an
That's a
authority.
good neighbor.
That's been handled, Darlene, because being truthful, I mean, this was a handshake deal with Tim. What the hell's Tim's last name? That is the attorney for all of
Oh, Raycraft.
Raycraft. And that property kind of splits right there, it goes in there. First thing is you can't legally landlock anybody. Can't do it. And that there probably has a prescription, easement by prescription, because you've been going in and out there for 23 years, right?
except this spring, since you did that shit in Shenandoah or whatever.
Right.
Has blocked that water, and I had to get permission to come in from the west, and I don't know if you know that guy, but the guy from Brant's.
Who is it? It don't make any difference.
Yeah, it don't make any difference. Anyway, he's not the type of guy to let somebody cross him.
Right.
And we needed to get in there and put the herbicide on the corn, and there was geese out there
Yeah.
in that hole. And the guy from Brant's that did the application said, how in the heck did you get him to give you permission to cross his standing crop? I said, I went up and told him what was going on. He goes, well, I don't think anybody could ever talk him into it. I said, well, he just said, okay.
So we just
So
need to
there's
take this
another
to the
example.
November
We
board
don't get
meeting.
along with
But there was a handshake agreement that if and when that ever developed, the village would put a road in from, what the hell is that?
Love's Drive.
Love's Drive on over to that and make a 40-foot road, a good road and all that stuff.
There is
like
a low
this.
spot in the curb there for
Right.
it.
Right. They practically
And do that, and by doing that, then that would make Raycraft property more valuable on two sides because it's got road frontage. Still has the road frontage on the big road, but this would make it back in there. But again, that's neither
So we
here
just
nor
need to
there.
put this on the agenda.
Yeah, we'll get a lease together and have it as an action item.
$200 an acre
Got a
and 2
40
years.
acre tract of land.
40-acre tract of land, $8,000 a year, and everybody's going.
Release agreement with you, and you'll be good to go.
That'd be nice if I, to show that I'm gonna follow through on the lease, if I could give like a deposit like in March, and then pay the remainder when the crop comes out. That way I don't have to
That's
borrow.
kind of standard anyway. you
Yeah,
know. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's no
just-
big deal.
Whatever to begin with if you want, or pay it all in full, but I don't wanna have to borrow money and.
No.
If those are snow
Yeah.
geese out there,
Pardon me?
if those are snow geese out there, we'd like to know this,
Okay.
because there's no limit on shooting them.
No.
They're a nuisance.
And we want to take, what's the dog's name?
Luger.
Luger, and want to see if Luger will retrieve.
There you go.
Might not just shut
Thank you guys.
that Luger
Thank
up
you
there.
guys.
Might just go get 'em.
And no charge for all the wild pumpkins that come up there where you spread your jack-o'-lanterns.
That's right.
Yeah, there was a pumpkin patch out there 2 years ago growing up.
I tell you what, you never know what they're gonna put in them bags. You tell them leaves only, and you get surprises.
You know, they come up. So.
Well,
Folks,
thanks,
thank
Tim.
you.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for being understanding. So, it's 2 years, and we'll have to, Harry, I'll have to have you, or Mr. Mayor, I'll have to have you sign another paper for the FSA
Crop
because,
deal, so that's,
yeah,
no problem.
yeah, but, well, there'll probably be two things that he has to do, because one is the 2018, which there's not gonna be an ARC payment on it, but 2019 crop and 2020, they've set everything back a year, so there has to be a sign up for 2019 and 2020, and then we'll have to change the
No problem.
operation.
Whatever
Yeah.
needs to be done, we go
Yeah.
from that's
Share
the easy
crop
part.
to cash
Yeah,
crop.
yeah, not only that, but they pay everything in reverse now if you get a subsidy.
Okay.
See, that's what hurt the village, like I told you, I'm honest with you, on the board last meeting was that, I made $3,000 more than you guys did, because you can't draw subsidy. Now I can draw that subsidy at $200 fair, and I'm gonna pick up rocks anyway, and John spreads leaves in my way, I'm gonna get after him.
Right.
We'll get along.
Well,
All right.
do.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, sir.
Ken.
Thanks.
See you, bud.
And, I don't know when I'll get the corn out there, but it's coming.
It's coming.
It'll get it.
That's right.
I have for 22 years, so.
You got it. See you, buddy.
That's
Thank
all
you,
I'm making
Tim.
out of the park. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Dick, thank you.
No problem, but
Go
See you
Tim.
guys.
Bye-bye, here go.
I
Okay.
gotta quickly tell you this.
Back
Okay.
there behind,
We
How
had
quick?
this humongous 10-burner stove out there to the gun club,
Hannah's
big cast iron
somewhere in
job.
Homer's.
And he and Daryl Lewis were on their hands and knees trying to light the pilot light. And they're down there, and they're about to get it lit and it blow out and whatever. And I come up behind these two with a great big aluminum pan. And I drop that pan, and Finch, he pretty good sized boy, you know. And he football tackled that stove and damn near drove it through the wall. And then he got up in a few choice words and he was gonna kill me. And at the time I could still outrun him, but he chased me all over. But if I'd had a picture of this, I'd be a millionaire in this day and age, because it was funny, it really was.
You remember when
Okay,
his dad
I'm sorry.
ran for sheriff?
Huh?
You remember when his dad ran for sheriff?
Oh, hell yes.
Against
Hell
Henry Jackson? That
Yes,
was-
I
yeah.
remember that.
Anyway.
I haven't
His dad-
seen him in years.
He died.
Yeah.
His dad had, there's nothing here that had the sticking glasses in what he had.
Yeah.
It's just the way you
Frank-
said it.
Frank-
I haven't seen his dad in a while.
Well, he died.
No, I didn't, and I didn't mean the dad, I hadn't seen Tim in years.
Let's get back on track.
Yeah.
I was just,
yeah.
We're not
The way
even
I heard it
halfway
was
through
funny.
yet.
Yeah,
Okay,
you put a
I'm
ton
sorry.
on here.
Okay,
What's?
water plant updates.
Hey,
Well, no, hold on.
Yeah,
we're not
go
done
back.
yet. We got
Move it.
holiday leave
Mister, I'm
funding
in
still.
front of the police.
Yeah.
Darn right I am. Don't you forget it either.
Okay, they got you.
As of 9:30, balance of 666,172. However, for the year, when we went into this fiscal year, we had a projected net increment available for our use of $400,000. Like I said, well, I'm not being smart, but when you ask me or anything, because I truly don't believe the money's extra or excess. It's how you decide how you choose
Right.
to spend it. You know?
No, and
So-
I get that, I just wanna know where we're at.
Maybe a better word would have
But
been
that's-
what's available.
You know, I mean, like, I'm not trying to be
What's
smart with you,
available.
like, I really want you to understand, like, it's your choice. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
That's why I asked,
Yeah.
because I wanna know if, I don't know
Yeah.
what else
Yeah.
could come up,
so I mean, that's,
but that's a pretty good amount.
I think it's responsible where we've been with our general fund to spend it from TIF, quite honestly.
Yeah.
But that's up, to the board, so.
So you're wanting the balance of that after the escrow
Right.
to come from TIF?
And then I would like at some point, if the board would consider, and this is only in the form of a motion, no money would actually change hands at all, it would be in the form of a motion, and then paperwork would be to go ahead and correct that deficit in general gift road. Enough money to put them back in good shape. Or not good shape, but let's call it shape.
well, and that was what, was in the audit that
Right.
Yes.
was like, it was a gift or a loan, but
Right.
not permanent. It was, you're just talking about
It should have
making
been
that
gifted to
permanent.
begin with
Right.
because, it should have been gifted to begin with because it's not a loan because it can never pay it back because it doesn't produce, it doesn't generate money.
Right.
Where you going?
A small amount, yeah, I think we're gonna levy like
Leaving that.
74, 80 grand
Right,
for it,
right.
not what it costs.
Right.
So So are we kind of at a consensus with you?
Yes.
Quarter, very good, Tim, okay.
Yeah.
Give Carla a
And
quarter.
then codes,
Was that what it is?
David Bob was never actually hired.
He said that one.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
already took care of that
Perfect,
one.
and then Dick,
And
you already
what?
talked about
Oh, what?
Yeah.
the packet, so I assume, are you guys gonna meet again on
Give
that?
me one, Bob.
Yeah. The codification thing, so I can give them an update.
Dick.
What?
Codes.
I'm sorry.
The thing that you gave Rob, is that the last part of that? So I can give the codification people an update? Or are you gonna meet on that again?
I'm going to hand this out tonight, and we may have to have another little meeting or something, but
Okay.
I'm good.
this
thanks.
explains everything there is.
Okay,
And what changes we have made,
okay.
and what changes they want made.
There you go.
And these guys can all look it over, and if they have any,
Is it a lot?
it's quite a bit.
Okay, so.
It's nothing, half of it is stuff they suggested anyway, and they put another, reference to a codification somewhere else. You know, so it's no big deal. But again, we need to, and she did, and you being you, of course, to talk to,
Wow.
Me, what?
well, you talked to Rob about how to do this.
Oh, yeah, you asked
Tell him what I'm,
how to get rid of, Dick asked
How to get rid of, yeah.
how to get rid of Dick.
yeah.
And that's what we, no, how to get rid of the old ordinances. So Rob said you can either get rid of them in a group or individually, and he can help us with that. Cause there's a lot of them,
There's quite a few of them.
yeah.
How to get rid.
Yeah, get rid of the old ordinances.
By the new one, they take over the old ones.
No, they, like the village wants to delete the following of 30.03, and I don't have that book with me tonight, but there were several in there that we need just to delete.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah,
An
that's what we're
ordinance.
talking about, the
Part-
old.
There's-
Okay, I thought you meant when we codify, I thought you meant like the old ones that are still, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
The weeds, they need to
Take
be
it off-
deleted,
off the
because
codes.
that's covered under the other.
So then Rob just said to let him know whatever
Might wanna
everybody
write that on.
decides, and then we can do it as a group or individually. I don't know why we do it individually if we can do it as a group.
So you're passing those out, or those are all
Yeah,
for you?
no, I'll pass these
All
on.
right.
You wanna just do that now while we're in this?
You have to pass it out.
Okay.
I love your friend.
This one is a copy that we got from the codification people. This has been our response, and then they had about
That's across
7
the
or 8
fireworks.
pages in there of stuff they wanted done, so I have also put that into here.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
look them
that's the
over all the way
40
through.
plat there. Okay.
That one's.
And then Rob's looking at something, cause how far out?
Rob
on
was
this
looking at a deal that they suggested, because they didn't think our, sign ordinance was legal.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait, are you missing one? We didn't get one of
No.
those legal ones. Was there 3 in there? You
Just
only
2.
got. So where's the?
You only got 2,
Oh, you-
those 2.
oh, you gave me.
Yeah.
Well, let's pass those down to whoever
There
needs
you
them.
pass them that way.
Here, let me help you. for
That'd
God's
be great,
sake.
I like this.
There you go.
There you go. Wow.
Keep that. Who else needs one?
Me.
I do. I gave mine to her. Because I,
Greg.
Everybody got them?
No, I need one.
Okay.
Do you want one?
No.
Okay. that's
Tim
it.
and
I'll get one
Rich
fine
and
on.
John, you
There
want
are
one?
some stuff in there that you need to look over.
I thought you and I had ours.
Oh, well, it's questions they
Oops.
ask,
That's all right.
Give you guys some.
you know, about.
I got you.
You got yours?
So
Okay,
I'll
Rich
give
got it.
you
Tim, you
all
got
or
'em?
something and
Maybe
show you
I'll
where it's
Okay.
at.
Here, you take
No
those.
big
Tim.
deal. There's 2.
it's just these 2, right?
Just these 2.
Yeah. Everybody got one now?
And then go back to your blue
Wasn't
manual
that
that
an
you
efficient
had.
way to hand them
You
out?
gotta go that way.
All right.
And again, there's nothing that's set in stone. If we want to change something or whatever. we
Okay,
can.
so what's our timeline on this?
Have to ask her. 'cause she-
What's our timeline on this?
A year ago. it was-
A year ago. We're
Yeah,
behind.
August 30th was our deadline.
Okay, what's our new deadline?
Well, they didn't give me one, but I'm
Okay.
willing to bet it's pretty quick.
Yesterday.
They gave us the courtesy of giving back the packet.
Right.
And giving us this, but I'm still not convinced that they gave us this packet to start with, because I didn't get it.
I've never seen that.
And I,
package.
yeah, so I'll give, I mean, I'm willing to fight them on that, but at the same time.
And
we're
they
over
do
it.
want, it says in there under their thing, they wanted, all the ordinances brought up since, hell, I don't know where it is.
Yeah, they didn't have their dates right on that, I know what you're talking about, 'cause
Copy of each new ordinance passed since 4/6 of 2017.
Yeah, and it was like,
1042 on
Just
up.
let me know.
So,
yeah, that was wrong to start with,
Okay.
but yeah, so I would, the sooner the better, you know, I
Can we
think.
get this done before I get out of office? And
well, I'll tell you, all we gotta really do
we were
is,
talking about this when we ran.
is send this
We're
in,
still going.
is send this in as we have it, and the copies of the ones from 4/6/2017.
We've got that part handled.
Okay,
We've got.
then if you've got that,
Yeah, we already
and,
sent that stuff off.
and send that to them and see what they want then.
Well, this is what they need that, remember the original I gave back to you, the original that you sent in?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got it at home, I'll bring
They
it to you.
want that with this added to it.
Right,
So
okay.
that's all I need from you. But
Okay.
that's all, that's big.
But you have sent in all the new
Yeah.
ordinances, okay.
Well, as of whenever I sent that.
Yeah.
There will be more to send in, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Water plant update. Water plant is operational. We ran it for a few hours last week. Got the filters backwashed. We had 4 new VFD drives, which that's the controls for each pump. We had 4 new ones replaced back in March, April, under warranty. Now, the 2 new ones at the plant, of course, got hit by lightning. Insurance replaced them. The ones at the wells didn't get hit, they were fine. But when we put the new telemetry system in,
Didn't work.
and they had to program them to that because Jim's old system was funky in the way it was programmed. We fought and fought it, only to find out through Eaton, which that's where the drives are from, that the software is no good on those drives. They're gonna warranty them again. That's not an issue. There's no money, but it's time. So they were supposed to drop ship 2 of them to me yesterday or today, and as of 9 o'clock on Tuesday night, they're still not here. Now, we can run the plant, but we can't run it. And the reason I say that is, we can't run it because we can't pump water to it to pump it to town. So we are down to putting 2 drives in, programming them to the system, and we're back online. Guys, I don't even know what to say. It's been tomorrow, for 3 weeks of tomorrows. So when they get here, we're gonna put in and we'll be up and going. But that's where we're at. Things are good. We got one heck of a system. You know, the telemetry, if you remember, we were talking about putting a new one in anyway. We're up and going with that. It's a really nice system. We're just waiting on the drives. So where we're at. Lift station, it is, I say it's complete. We switched over, if you remember, we went from 208 3-phase to 480, which it's cheaper to run, easier on equipment. So one of the new motors that we got through the fire, we went ahead and ordered it in right then as 480. So when we switched over, we dropped it in. There's still one pump in the ground that's 208. It's not hooked up. I'm waiting on St. Louis to come pull it, take it back, rewire it, bring it back in. So we're on 2 pumps again and rotating back and forth. Other than that, it's all done. We made final pay on it. We're just waiting to swap out the motor and rewire it.
Who done all the electrical on that, switching all that out? To 480, switching it.
Well, when we put the new system in it from the fire, we brought it all in as 480. Cameron come in and switched it from the pole. We put ground mount transformer because every time it would kick in, all the lines would gallop, and it wasn't good. So that's, I mean, we're state of the art out there now. It's all up to date. It's nice. So that's where we're at with that. Holiday Lane updates, really, that's done. We've already talked about that money-wise. It's all done, complete. They were in and out. They did a really nice job. Trucks, we sold the F-150, 2 weeks ago?
Oh, yeah.
Going on 2 weeks ago. So it's gone. The red truck.
What we get?
14.5. 14.5.
On Facebook.
Yes.
Yep, on Facebook.
Yeah. So the dump truck, long story short, the guy that bid it didn't take it. Just a long story. We called everybody that was, like, you were next in line that you had bid. You didn't want it. She come and looked at it and said, I'll let you know. you didn't call back, you didn't call back. So we put it on Facebook, and we put on there $1,500 because, let's face it, that's
John and I figured it's $1,000 truck, so we put it on.
And which truck is this?
That's the old red dump that's sitting out here.
Okay.
We've got a bid now for
An
$1,200,
offer
so
for 12, so.
we're gonna see what tomorrow
Does it run
brings.
good? I mean, is it a good truck? Run good?
It runs, it's
The
got.
frame's rusty, it's been
It's
patched, and the brakes are soft.
Rusted out.
Yeah.
It's got some rust. That's the biggest issue.
So,
The guy, the original winner, I'm using air quotes here for the camera.
yeah,
Since I'm behind the camera, he bid it up on iBid to 3,500,
yeah,
and then he came up from St. Louis and threw a fit.
he and I got into it.
He's been banned from my bid for 2
Yeah.
years, just so you know. We did follow up on that. So it's not, I mean.
Why he would bid that much on something? I mean, we were sitting here going, "Why is this guy bidding?" Because
Right.
we don't think it's a $3,500
Yeah,
truck.
it's
We
not.
thought it was $1,000 to $1,500 truck.
And
So
we did disclose in the listing
Yes.
that the frame, it needed
Everything that it's
framework.
got
and-
wrong with it. So we have a bid at 1,200, and tomorrow, if nothing else comes off, then it's gone.
yeah,
So,
that's our thought. Is
Yep.
There's nobody else.
It's better to beat feet than to sit there and
Absolutely.
wait for somebody to pay
Yep.
$300 more. So.
absolutely. So that's where we're at with that, guys. And that's all I got.
Before you leave and we move on to this,
Mhm.
is there a reason that you're before our, I
Do you
appreciate
really need to
everybody's
ask that?
time and the fact that we sit here on committee nights and talk about all this, because it's great, I love it. But I don't
Impotent.
understand.
Impotent.
Good
Enough
night,
said.
John.
Take your turn.
Good night, John.
I go by an order of who responds first in emails.
No, you don't. Right, quick. Yeah, you do.
Not this
You're
time.
not as quick as me, brother.
Not this time.
Thank you much. You snooze, you lose.
I just go down the
Got any
list.
questions
Where
for
are
me?
you at on switching over to the new system as far as the accounting system?
Remember, we were gonna wait until the way it fell out on the 2 month, but we're gonna have to talk about it because with Alice not here, not that it can't be done without her, she's been through this process in, Root House.
But we've had a
So-
monkey wrench thrown at us, let's be honest.
Right,
Yeah.
so, I mean,
It's still a percentage deal.
it is, but,
And we
but,
figured that out.
I mean, it's nothing like she had science going.
no,
No,
that's what I'm
no.
saying, she just had been through it,
Yeah.
and that was our go-to with it. So we may have to get a hold of Root House and say, hey, I may have to go down there and talk to them, and just say, run me through how you did it, because we want this as seamless as it can be.
Well, it
And
seemed
I don't
like
know
Suzanne
locals.
had suggestions
She-
too.
We've figured out how to do it. I have it mapped out.
Right.
I just don't know that program, because we
The
run
what?
on 2 different programs.
Okay.
Our water
So,
financing's done through.
To answer your
Locals.
question, we are knocking at the door of being able to do it. We have to sit down, and Tiffany and I,
But we've got a letter, we've got a drawing
Right,
drawn out, we've got
we've done
it.
the
We know how to
legwork
do
for it.
it.
But we haven't even had our discussion on what we wanna do yet.
exactly, so
Yeah.
that's what I mean, we've done everything on our end we can. We have to sit back,
Right.
come back together, I think we need to have a meeting just on that.
Correct.
I will
That
tell you,
way
it's
we
not
can-
as ugly
it's
as we
too-
thought it was.
It's not,
Just so you guys
so,
know
and we
that.
can run over that when we get to it.
Let's, real quick though, we always say we're 2 months behind, and we
And we
are,
are.
and that's what freaked us all out. But even with Alice, we weren't doing that math, because even though we're 2 months behind, you're always gonna be 1 month behind. So, like where before we thought our bills were gonna be 50% higher for 4 months, whatever, it's really not. It's gonna go up 25% for 4 months.
He been on it, he didn't want it.
And then we're caught up.
I just met
So-
this guy and this guy. and
Well,
that
that's
guy.
what I was just getting ready to
Yeah.
say.
No,
What we
no,
gotta
no,
do is
no.
come to agreement on how long we're gonna drag it out for
Right.
and what percentage we're gonna put it at.
Yeah, and that,
It's easy, I mean,
yeah.
that's basic math, so.
Right, just so that,
Well, okay, go ahead. Don't leave, I got a thing.
yeah, I just want everybody, you guys included, to be on the same page, because you're gonna get calls.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're going to. So we want everybody to be involved in that decision on how it's done,
Well-
and be schooled on it, so that when you get a call, you can say, well, let me get back to you. You can say, yes, this is why, and this is how, and this is what we're doing.
So you're
Well,
saying
and-
25%?
Yeah, and I don't mean
Cause
this,
my bill's like $75 a month.
and I don't mean this disrespectfully to anyone.
Times 25, that's like $18.75.
We can't take like we're not
It's
gonna be
less
able to
than
divide
12
this by
of
like
us.
33 or something, or some crazy numbers, because at some point, you've got the finance system that you've gotta work with and the parameters there that, you know what I mean, like, we're not gonna make everybody happy. It's gotta have to be by weeks and dates and, you know, right? I
Right,
mean, there's
yes.
no,
Right.
there's no drawing it out 2%, 5%, you know, it's gotta make sense in the parameters of what the system will let you do.
I mean, we talked about this before. We gotta get it out there, so when we talk about this, everybody is welcome as a
Absolutely.
resident
We'll have like
to
a
come
town
in,
hall
so
meeting
that
or
way,
something.
we're not throwing the shovel at their forehead.
Right.
No, we can,
That way, everybody knows, and
I think,
Jason, we've
I
got
think
a
we
letter
have two,
drafted.
I think we
Okay.
We can
take
show
two
you
different,
guys.
we make up two different dates and say, on the 15th, we're gonna have a meeting
right,
pertaining to this.
right.
And then we'll have another date set, and we'll have another meeting, that way everybody will have an opportunity to come in and know
That is correct.
and hear it firsthand. Plus, like Tiffany said, we've got a letter prepared to go out that explains what we're doing, why, and how we're gonna do it.
And we drew a picture even, like, so,
Right,
I
right.
mean, it's,
And what did you
That's
have,
good.
you had 4 months?
once we decide what months we're gonna do that in, we'll plug it into real time so that it really makes sense to people and they can understand.
Right.
Right now, it's some lines, you know, generic lines.
And you were at
taxes and all that.
25% for 4 months?
Well, that's what I said, but it's basically a week. Instead of 4 weeks, you pay 5 weeks at a time.
Okay.
So-
Whatever's
There is
easier
a
for
thing
people
from
to
this
understand.
codification people, the attorneys,
Uh-huh.
and they're talking about the bills and what, I'll just read this real quick. The section provides for termination of water service upon non-payment of bill for 30 days without further notice. U.S. Supreme Court held in Memphis Light and so on, which is a company down there, that a municipality may not terminate utility service without giving a customer a fair opportunity. So we need to look at this too.
We'll address that,
Because-
you and I'll address
yeah.
that, because our ordinance is 45 days, and we do give them a fair opportunity. If, when it's due on the 15th and they haven't paid it, they've got until the next.
But you don't send them the bill till the first of the month, say.
But after the 15th, if you haven't paid by the 15th, you get a pink slip that says by this time next month.
Okay, I'm not gonna argue with you on this tonight, but I don't know how legal we are on doing that. Because you give them a bill the first of the month, and then 15 days later, if they don't pay that bill, then, okay,
That's the 2 months, we're 2 months behind.
that's not it. Because you give them a bill
They,
on the first of the month. This is the amount of money you owe, correct?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And then 15 days later, if they don't pay that bill, then you shut them off.
No, you don't. No,
What do you do?
listen.
It's the next month, I
You
guess.
send a pink bill out that says, if this bill's not paid by this time next month,
So
you
you
will be
give
on the
them
shut.
45 days
Yes,
notice,
yes,
okay.
yeah, that's what the pink slip is.
But again, we just need Rob to look at that
Yeah,
and
you
see.
need to look and see what
Right,
that case
right. But yes,
says
but
is.
and to your question, they do have significant.
Okay, that's great. That's
Sufficient time.
wonderful.
Yes, yeah, they are being warned.
What are you trying to say? You never received a
The
pink slip?
image
You
to-
ain't had a pink slip, you ain't lived.
Anybody have any input on
Get 'em all
that, the
the
holiday
time.
image?
We even
You
got,
guys
the
wanna
billboard.
set a
we even
meeting?
got pink slips one time, we said they were out of the green.
So we can get this going.
Seriously?
What do you mean input?
I can
The holiday image for the billboard, we were gonna
email it out
approve
to
the
you guys so
final
you can
image
look
tonight.
at
I
it.
didn't know if anybody else had
Oh,
any
man,
input.
That's for the Season's Greetings billboard we're talking
that's the
about.
one
Hold on a
that,
second, we got,
Yes.
we screwed up.
I know, we
And
didn't
then
talk
if
to
you can
him.
have that later.
Yeah, he sent it to
Yes,
me.
then
I
you
should have
would know
sent
what
this
we-
in.
What we have in mind.
He had
Sounds good.
who we're talking about is George Murphy.
Yeah.
And he had mentioned to him about putting the MAD logo on the billboard. And that MAD logo
Set
would
it
be
up
on
in the
there
plan.
and,
Okay,
you know,
okay.
tell me some more here, cause that,
Well, it's
I
just
forgot all about it.
He lives in the village and that's his basis and he's very passionate about it, so I just told him that if he wanted to do it, then I don't think it'd be a problem because I
Sounds
think
good.
it's a great deal
Yeah.
that he
Oh,
does.
yeah. 'Cause it
And like I
won't be
say,
too long.
And
so
I screwed this up because I should have brought this tonight, but it's been 30 days ago when he gave it to me, so I
Yeah,
forgot it.
he didn't say, he said he was gonna come see me, but he didn't, so that
He sent it to me,
okay.
so.
So this is not what we're talking about?
It would be just like that, but where that drinking and that wine glass
Have a mad logo
would be a MAD logo.
With the MAD
Yeah,
logo.
that's fine.
That's what I'm saying, but he was just gonna bring it.
Other
up.
than that, it would be absolutely the same.
Does he have a chapter or is it just the national man?
It's
It'd be the
national.
Just
national.
the national.
Yeah.
Just want to just stick the MAD logo
That'd
on
be
there.
great.
No, nothing wrong with
I
it.
don't think, I mean, no, I think we can still go ahead and do it, even though we don't have it to present here, it's still gonna be fine. It's just his logo wherever.
We all know
Well, you're
what it
gonna
is,
vote on
yeah.
this anyway,
We all know
aren't you?
what it is.
No, we, the motion was we would just approve the image at this committee.
Okay,
So-
and I apologize.
No,
I
that's-
forgot all about the damn thing.
Well, we can still do it, just,
Yeah.
it's just missing that logo, it's just gonna be on there,
Look at
everybody
you
knows it's gonna
digging,
be,
my phone's on
we can still
silent.
approve it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
So-
Let's approve it.
That one with the MAD logo, everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Get it
Who's
on.
taking care of it?
Okay, Finch just,
Who's gonna change the image?
who sends it in anyway?
It varies.
One of
Sometimes
us
I do
do.
it, sometimes.
I'll
Well,
you
then
do.
we'll get it to you.
I'll
Either
bring it
I-
up here tomorrow.
Okay.
Or I'll email it to you
You're
tomorrow.
gonna get me the whole thing or just the
No,
map?
just the image, just the MAD thing.
Okay, can
It's
you,
just a round thing.
can you send me this and I'll add a MAD logo to it?
Sounds good.
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay, yeah.
Sounds
So
good.
we have
That's
to,
even better.
Yeah, I can handle
Awesome.
that.
All right, sounds good.
All right, okay. First thing here, repairs for engine 1112, which was our older engine. I think I mentioned a couple meetings ago that it didn't pass pump test. And the reason that was because it had two discharge valves that were leaking. So since they've been replaced, that bill will be in the payables this month for $1,084.86. So I did pass that along to the pump testing company, so we're good to go on that truck. We held a second assistant chief election at our last fire meeting on October 7th. The only person that was nominated was Dave By. He got all the votes. Jason Hill was there to verify him, and that's also my recommendation. for
And
second
that's to
assistant
replace
chief.
Mike.
No, Dave By's been in that position, but we have to do it.
Oh, yeah, cause Mike was the head, or he was first assistant, right? And then
Yeah,
he
so
retired.
Brian-
moved up.
How do you
Yeah.
spell his last name?
B-Y-E.
Do
Easy enough.
Okay,
So
so,
then-
yeah, I'm behind on that. I remember he was there.
Yeah, so then next year, the first assistant chief will be up for election.
Yes, I remember you all took him.
it was
Yep.
unanimous, it
Yeah.
was, 18-1, your name was on one, and you got me, so.
I thought it was you.
I was on one?
I thought it was you.
Oh.
I demand a
I gave him shit, I go, it's unanimous, Dave 18 and Harry Jennings 1.
Yeah, all right, cookie walk, in the years past, the auxiliary has always done a cookie walk down at the firehouse. Since they have dissolved, our fundraising group decided we want to continue that this year because there was a lot of people that enjoyed it, so.
Where the dissolve?
It's the 14th.
Oh, that's
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so the kind
Yeah,
of
why did
reasoning,
they?
so the kind of reasoning behind that was, it was the same people doing the same things, and it basically boiled down to the same people on the community benefit fund doing it too. So we basically had two 501c3s doing the same thing. So
So you guys are gonna continue it?
yes,
Good to-
and that
good
will
to
be December 14th at 7 o'clock, and we put till sell out. It's usually pretty quick, between 10 and 11 o'clock. So
And they're looking for help.
absolutely, anybody wants to bake cookies and drop them off, we'll have a.
When is that? When you drop?
So
those off?
I think we're gonna drop them off that Friday evening. I don't have a time set up yet for that, but once we get that.
Even sorting and everything, she said that, any help is greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
Because I'll be ready to buy mine.
Won't be able to sell any marijuana cookies till next year.
That's correct. We'll hold off on that.
So are you saying they're free this
Probably
year?
have to tax them?
Yeah.
Once you pull them up and realize who you're talking to.
I'm going trick or treating at his house.
Cookie little girl.
We can move on.
Next item is
Good one.
extrication tools. So at the beginning of the year when we went through budgets, I budgeted $43,000 for some new extrication tools. So the last couple months we've been we've had 3 different companies come down and have had demos where we actually got our hands on the tools, Bill's Towing's been very grateful to us and donated some vehicles for us to cut up. So I'd like to be able to start moving forward with this. I don't know if you guys want to have any discussion with it. I do know we had the last demo last night. I'm going to sit down with the 2 assistant chiefs and really pinpoint what brand we want to go with. I think we got it narrowed down pretty good. And I will say we will be under the $43,000. And I will kind of emphasize that I was told that a lot of times these tools will go up first part of the year. So if we can do something before the end of the year, that'd probably be our best bet. Just kind of looking for, I don't know.
You want to mention that they're recommending electric now instead of
Right, yeah, so I apologize on that. So right now we have hydraulic extrication tools. So every tool that we have out, we have a hose and we have a pump. And we have to have somebody at that pump to switch back from our cutters and spreaders. So it ties up one person, and sometimes we can be limited if we're down into off the roadway quite a ways.
Isn't that what city went with?
Yes, yeah.
So that would make you guys interoperable then?
If we go with the same brand, which it's kind of what we're leaning towards, we would would both interchange.
So you have an electric, you have a generator that
So we have an electric generator. On our rescue, we have an electric generator that runs off of electricity. And then our backup, we have a backup gas powered one. It's just, we've had it since, we probably had it 40 years.
But the hydraulic is electric.
Yeah, so the pump is electric, yeah. So this would get rid of all the hoses, it'd get rid of all the pumps, and we'd just have batteries. So that way we wouldn't have to be tripping over the hoses.
Yeah.
Faster, lighter.
They are faster, they're lighter.
So it's a cordless system?
Cool. Just like a battery powered tool.
Okay.
So there's nothing wrong with the old one, you just want something
So
that's better, works.
But at the same time, so I think I mentioned this back in the budget. We have a backup set on one of our engines. Well, they came and serviced that stuff this year, and that electric pump's about shot. And finding parts for it nowadays, he said, will be tough. And the current set we have as our main line is, I think we're around 12, 15 years old. So ideally, our main set now would be our backup set, and then the new ones we have on our rescue truck.
I had written down cutter, spreader, 2 rams. What's that mean? Why'd I write
2
that?
grams is
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I had new extrication equipment written down on your budget stuff when I made the notes.
Yeah, so all that would say, we would have a cutter, spreader, 2 rams. There is a glass cutter in there. It's not very expensive. I can't remember the price of it.
Okay.
But it was like $400 or $500 because.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that.
Ours did take a crash on us a year or so ago, so we're basically just using the Sawzall right now. These are a little bit quicker.
So is there anything to sell? Any of the old
So
stuff?
our old stuff that we would not need anymore, we could sell that to somebody who needs. So that would be a cutter, a spreader, and electric pump.
Okay.
You know about what that would bring? Guesstimate?
A few $1,000s. I mean, I would have to kind of look into it a little bit. I don't think it'd be a lot just due to the age of it.
Gotcha, okay.
And this is the new thing now. They don't hardly sell any hydraulic stuff. It's all going to the batteries. So.
Batteries,
Yeah, I
Makes
remember,
good sense.
Well, the only thing that somebody would maybe purchase it for backup.
Yeah, maybe.
If they don't,
Right,
and
and
if
there's
their shit,
yeah, and there's some places out there that don't have anything. They're looking to get into that field, and it could be a good startup.
Somebody might buy it for the parts that you're saying are hard to find.
Right, absolutely.
Keep
And
it on
also
the shelf, who
too,
knows?
we're tight for space on every truck we have. We never have enough room, so this will free up a lot of space. So I guess are we good to move forward with this?
What was the total?
Well, I budgeted 43,000, so I don't have exact total for you until we decide exactly what tool we want. I got the quotes, but I will say it will be under 43. If it's something we can move forward with approve at the meeting, I can get those numbers to you guys probably by the first of the week. Or if we can need to wait another month, it's.
I mean, we have, again, it all depends on where you're going with this, because
Well, it has to come out of the general fund.
Right, it does.
Mhm.
We could. I just was going over budgets today. I think Rich has only spent, I wanna say like
You just gave
7 or 10% of your whole budget for the year. So I mean, the fire department hasn't spent hardly anything.
Right.
So I mean, it's, if we're looking at where we, you know what I mean, could or should spend some money, I think we're okay cash flow wise to do it. I mean, if that's where you wanna go with it.
It sounds like it's their turn.
These are tools he's brought up before, and these are something that I mean, this,
I'm not, just, I don't wanna crucify you guys. I actually had a picture. I think maybe some of you saw it.
you passed out some, previous committee meeting we talked about them.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, this is the type of situations that we get in where we might have to use them. So
Yeah.
that's just here recently, just to kind of give you an idea of what they actually do.
I thought you were gonna pass out the tools.
Oh, yeah,
I say, I
no.
That's after you cut it up, right?
Yeah, but it didn't look much better beforehand.
Oh, is this the one that was on 67?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, if that's something we can move forward with, I can get you guys the total amount before the board meeting.
Yeah, if you get an amount, I mean, we can put that, if everybody's okay with it, we can put that as an action item, and, we need a total
Yeah. I'll
at
get-
the meeting.
Right.
The county line.
Yeah.
It sounds good to me.
So how long would you expect this to?
Lifespan of them.
I would say, I mean, I'd say we got, you know, we're getting 15 years out of these. I would say that would be, I might, you know, this is kind of a newer technology too, so I think, you know, it might be a little bit different.
I think the batteries,
The batteries would be the big thing.
Are-
They do have a 3-year warranty on them. With one of the companies that we're looking at, they do, they don't charge if they don't need charge. So they kind of got a memory in them. If they're not below a certain percentage, they won't charge. Because when we plug our truck in, everything on there will charge. So if it's not under 92%, it won't charge it.
but the batteries are also a lot. I use some spreaders and stuff in my shop, and I switched from hydraulic to electric, and I know it's a lot cheaper to maintain. The batteries, sometimes you have to replace them. The tools seem to have a lot longer lifespan than the hydraulic stuff, so.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll get,
I don't have anything 15 years old, but.
yeah.
So.
We'll pick out which ones it's actually gonna go with and get some numbers for you guys.
Cool.
Ladder truck repairs, so I think I'd mentioned this too, when they were here pump testing, it didn't pass pump test because it overheated. So Globe came down, and when they would fix the other engine, it says it needs a new radiator. If they could find somebody to rebuild it, it was gonna be maybe close to $4,000 after labor. For a brand new one with labor, they were looking at $8,000 to $9,000. Actually, just the other day, I talked to Randy Chappell out at Center State, which is the old buyers, and he says they can take care of it for well under that. It'll be down for a couple of weeks, but it's no big deal. We back up Jacksonville, they back up us, you know, back and forth, so.
Now, when he says he can take care of it, does he mean refurbished or new?
It will be refurbished, so
Okay.
they'll take it out,
Okay.
and there's a place in Springfield that redoes them.
For under
Yeah.
the $4,000, is that what I'm writing? Or
I
for
don't
under
have a
the-
total, he doesn't have a total number on it, but he said
Oh,
that
okay.
$8,000 to $9,000
Oh.
is way out of the ballpark, so.
Who, Springfield, who'd you say, Springfield?
MoDOT.
So I just kinda wanted to, just some informational on that. I mean, it has to be fixed for it to pass pump test, so. I've talked to Randy, and he's gonna get back with me when he can try to fit that in, so. And just so you guys are aware, I kinda talked to Mary about this a little bit the other day, is it seems like we put a lot of money in that truck since we got it, and I did go through. We've had it for 10 years, or since 2010, and we have put $40,000 in that truck. So, you break it down, you know, it's about $4,400 a year, but there is a lot of moving parts on that truck. It's more than your average regular fire truck. So, just to kind of keep that in the back of your heads, that I would think within probably the next 5 years, that's gonna be part of the vehicle replacement plan.
This is
It's
which truck?
The ladder
Ladder
truck,
truck.
which is a 1992. Which kind of leads me into I know Paula said something about this when I first came in as chief of replacement plan, so I feel like, you know, you kind of got the police department straightened out and the street department. So we have our rescue is a 2000 and our older engine is a 99. So it's always we've always looked around the 20-year mark of replacing some vehicles. So we got 3 of them that are getting up there. So what we kind of came up with is combining our rescue and our engine to a rescue pumper. So we got 2 big rigs there, combine it to 1. That way it will free up room in our firehouse, and cost-wise, repair-wise, all that. At the same time, we would still need a second vehicle like a Suburban, something along that lines to run just our medical calls out of. So I just kind of want to throw that out there. I don't know how fast we want to move on something like this. You know, if it were to be next year, just need to kind of fill you guys out, because it would be something we kind of need to start working on now.
What about a Tahoe?
I don't know. Pasma,
I'm just saying.
right, no, Pasma had,
Recommend an expedition.
But we already have a Tahoe that we wanna take out.
yeah. A Tahoe, Pasma had a Tahoe for a while. They ran medical calls out of, and that thing was jam-packed full, and there was no room. And then actually you couldn't even use the
I
back
just,
seat.
you know, I mean, trying to, if we were gonna take one out of a fleet, then it could be used, you know, like we just did with the, you know, the
Right.
hose truck, so.
Yeah.
Do you
Go
know?
ahead, I'm sorry. I didn't
Do you know offhand? I'm looking over your list here. What the current estimated, and I know you probably don't have numbers now, but what the values might be on current market values on those trucks might be.
You know, I don't. I just, you know, I see some for sale on, you know, on Facebook, online and stuff sometimes, and I was really caught off guard by when we sold our last truck and got
That-
like
so was I.
$5,000.
5,000 even, nothing, yeah.
That's one of my concerns, and I know fire trucks are completely different than John's work trucks. I know
Right.
that, but
Yeah.
I know one of the things.
And I will
was
say that was, you know, that was 3 years ago. That was in 1985.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'd probably be ahead doing something here.
Well, that's my concern with the ladder truck, and I know ladder truck probably holds its value a little better than some of the other things, but
Yeah.
one of my concerns is we keep it until it's
Well, we give what, $250,000 for that ladder truck?
What's that?
The
We
ladder
gave
truck.
$250,000 for that ladder
Yeah,
truck?
250.
And I'd rather dump money into keep it going or spend another $250,000 or more
I don't want to spend a
to
$250,000.
replace them, because how often do you use it, man?
Well, see, that's the thing I was kind of getting at, is I would like to try to push that off as long as we can, because I feel it's better if we replace something that we're going to use on a daily basis.
That's what he's saying,
Yeah.
far as
Yeah.
the pumper and the rescue together, so you're getting rid of 2, putting into 1, and salvage, putting little money into the ladder truck instead of the big, you know,
Yeah, 'cause I mean,
expense on that.
that
If that's what I'm grasping, right?
Yeah, I mean, because you can, that was actually kind of a deal. I mean, if you're gonna look at a newer, not so old ladder truck, you're talking over $500,000.
Yeah.
I mean, a brand new one's over $1 million. Yeah. So, and I don't think that's the route we wanna go by any means. I'd like to see us spend some money on a rescue engine, rescue pumper, that we're gonna use on a daily basis. So, just kind of throwing it out there. You know, I don't know how fast we want to move on this, but it is a lot, you know, if we're going to buy something new and kind of customize it a little bit with the compartments, you know, it is kind of a lengthy process. So.
Well, let's get some numbers for what you're looking at, what you're wanting, and let's get some numbers on what you're wanting to get rid of might be worth
Yeah.
estimates. I know that'd be
Right.
complete ballpark stuff, but what those might be worth getting rid of, so.
Okay.
And then we kind of know where we're at.
And,
All right.
and when you say this second vehicle, is that something that you're wanting to buy new, or can it be used, or?
You know, either or,
When you say,
buy like a top.
Expedition.
Yeah. And see, there's a couple different
It'll make
options.
more.
There might even be, it might even be an option to where we could get like a pickup truck like John's got, with an enclosed cab and a roll-out drawer type thing too. There's just some different options out there, and like I said, we've got a lot to think about and look at before we.
That's my chopper, guys.
And you're talking a new rescue thing, then when you talk that, right? You're not talking use for that, right?
Run that by me again.
When you're saying the new rescue, you're talking a new one, right?
Yeah,
But,
rescue
well, the
pumper.
only reason I'm asking is because I know Tim's brought up, and you have too before, like, I don't know if it's still 0% or whatever the financing
So,
is.
yeah,
You know, that might be
you
something
can
you
get
might want to look
a
into.
0% interest rate on the new vehicles.
Just because, I mean, I know like last time we
It
bought
doesn't
that.
work for us because our turnover is too quick,
Right.
but when you're keeping something for 15 years, you can budget,
Absolutely.
1,500 a month, whatever it is, you can set your payment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible financing.
And
Another thing is, you got coming up on your grant writing,
Yes, sir.
you need to be looking at some grants and stuff like that. I know there hadn't been any grants issued to the fire department. How long?
That was when my dad was still here.
Okay, so
I did, I kind of brought this up for him. I gotta have the time to be able to do it too.
well, I don't know what you got in mind for grants, but
Let's go ahead and.
You ready to move over?
That sounds like a transition.
Yeah. So, not to be disrespectful, I'm gonna go through my stuff, just stop me if you have questions or if you wanna talk about it further. Portable radios, we've gotten one bid. As I explained to you, it was high. We've asked 2 other companies to bid those. I'm expecting the returns this week. I know Rich has set up a meeting with GTSI for next Thursday, right, next Tuesday. So we're gonna sit down with him and kind of go over our contract that we have with them. And I'm also gonna talk to him about his bid on the portable radios and how badly he'd like for us to keep our business here and not go to St. Louis.
So it was his bid that was high?
It's his bid that pissed me off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you say that because I've heard numerous.
There's some programming stuff in there that I think is absurd. It's tacking on, I can charge you for disposing of.
Oh, yeah.
The ambulance, they can now charge for disposing of that hazardous waste. At some point, it's gotta stop. And it's gonna stop here with this company, otherwise we don't have any option but to go somewhere else.
Who's the local guy, Tim?
Yeah, it's a local radio dealer.
GTSI, they're out on,
GTSI.
yeah, on West One.
Okay.
Surprised you did that.
Yeah.
I really am.
Semantics too, but proposals, right? Not
I'm sorry.
proposals, right? Not bids.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
That is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, not in my world, only in your guys' world. So grant writing position, we've reached out to 11 different municipalities that have either used on a temporary basis or employed for a period of time. And we're getting feedback from them now. We have yet to get any names. Nobody's come to us and said, oh yeah, well, we hired. I can tell you, when we were in Ashland, it was a student from WIU.
U of I.
U of I. And that was part of her, or his, I think it was him at that time, it was part of his college
Probably
courses.
master's
Yeah,
program.
yeah,
It was.
exactly. So we got him really cheap.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's actually professionals out there that you can hire and they're part of your staff. So anyway, I didn't want anybody to think we'd forgotten about that. Dick, you and I, we talk about that all the time. There's multiple millions of dollars out there all the time for any kind of, the last one we just got was Department of Ag.
It's because if you know somebody good at this, you're not giving their name up. You're keeping them.
You're
know?
right.
So-
You're right. But
Yeah.
the people that are doing it for a living are.
Yeah. But you know what I mean, like, we're gonna have
Absolutely.
to hunt for them.
Absolutely.
But didn't we also
Yeah.
talk about that these positions can you can write into the grant their salary,
Yeah, yeah.
so,
Absolutely.
Doesn't
you know,
cost us anything.
right, I'm
for
not
the most
looking
part.
to be paying anyone to
No,
write
ma'am.
us grants.
Well,
We
they only
write
get
it into the
paid, right,
grant.
they only get paid if you get the
Secure
If they
grant.
get the grant, right.
Yeah.
You know, at some point, we could maybe even solicit applications for that, you know what I mean? If you guys
Absolutely.
wanted to
You
go
know
there.
Marcy Patterson.
Very well.
I think she used to write grants. Now, I'm not saying she wants to do it now, but she may be able to lead you somewhere that does this, or call the city.
I had actually had a meeting with a guy the other day that does a lot of them, is very good at them, and kind of got me up to speed and kind of pointed me in the right direction. So
And that's what it takes, is meeting
Yeah.
with those people
Yeah.
that, they're trying to sell the equipment, so, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe that's not who you met with, but a lot of times the people that are trying to sell you the equipment know about the grants to get the equipment.
Well, yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
first thing they
this is
do as
actually a
well.
local grant here, but there's
And that's
probably-
what we need. This
Probably a
could be
cherry out
for
there for 'em,
Ashland.
I
It
think,
wasn't for the police department. It was for the village of Ashland. I mean, he got grants for fire hydrants. He got grants, you know, everybody, when I started, they said, we'll never get new squad cars here. In 8 months, we had 2 brand new squad cars. The money's out there. You just gotta know. My adopted father actually did that pretty much for a living. Every department he went to, he secured grants, and that's what he built them with, so. Anyway, just didn't want anybody to think we'd forgot that. We're still doing our due diligence to hunt that down. The rental property ordinance, we've completed. We're going out over with Bree a few last things on it, and then we'd like the council's permission to send it to Rob, just to make for sure our legalities. And this is the one that asks for who you're renting to. This puts the burden on the property owner to say, hey, you're the landlord, you're the property owner, it's your responsibility by our ordinance to turn over who you're renting to. Is it legal or not? I don't know. It's being done in other places, so my guess is there's a way to get it done. Once we finish up here in the next few days, we'll send it to Rob and with your permission, because obviously that'll generate legal expense. But, you know, obviously when we get it done, our curiosity is, can we legally do this? The golf cart, all the parts have been ordered. It will go up tomorrow, the next day when the parts get in. They said it's just a couple hours install. That bill will not be in payables this time around, because I don't think they'll get it done and give us the bill in time. I'd like to request your folks' approval. We talked about hiring the open positions. This is a gentleman that works full-time in Winchester now, Matthew Watson. We'd like to offer him the part-time position. I'll further explain as we go along here. And again, we can come back and answer any questions on that. Seized funds update. As you all know, we've over the years kind of tapped that account down to 0, I think, for the most part, and we've rebuilt it back up since that time. It has somewhere around 7,000-ish. The reason that I bring this up, and I've got some of our documents from seized funds, if anybody cares to look at them, they're actually kind of neat. The reason I bring this up is you're gonna see a check in payables, not this time, but next time. The way we have to do this, we're sitting on a pretty good pile of cash right now in our evidence. The way the seized funds work, if we don't just get them from another agency, like we just got a check for, I don't remember how much that was for, that last one that I gave you.
I don't know, I just looked at 7,900 though.
So, okay, so I think it was $2,000-ish, 1,600 maybe. That came from another agency. They seized the funds, we participated in it, so we just get a check. When we seize the funds, there's by law now a process that you have to go through. That process is when, it's actually me, when I deem that that's no longer evidence in a case and it moves to seized assets, we have to send that to the Illinois State Police. This is where I'm talking about this with the council, because you're gonna see a check to the Illinois State Police. We'll have the documentation showing that what we're doing is taking that cash out of our evidence locker, we're taking it to First National Bank, we're trading that cash evidence for a deposit slip. So she'll be depositing it into account and then writing that check back out. It goes to Illinois State Police as part of the just being open and so that everybody can see what goes on. The state actually controls that money. They, once it's awarded, once you see those documents that you guys have in your hands, once we get those documents from the court, we send them to the state police and they re-release those funds back to us, not in full. If we give them $2,000, they have their percentage they keep, and then, of course, and then the other agencies that we name, for example, we seized on Friday, we seized $2,078. The county came out and was a huge assistance to us. We had, I think, 9 different subjects in a motorhome. So we relied on the county heavily for that. When we turn that cash over to the state police, when we file that S-64 form with the state police, they're gonna ask us who participated in this. Illinois State Police, Morgan County, blah, blah, blah. Well, in this instance, it was just the South Jacksonville Police Department and the Morgan County Sheriff's Department. Then they'll also ask as to what percentage. And we, and typically it's just me, as long as I know the full case, tell them to what percentage. So when they send those funds, when those funds get distributed back, a percentage will go to the village. Of that $2,078, they'll keep a percentage will go to the village, and a percentage will go to the sheriff's office since they assisted. So just so when you see that check going to the Illinois State Police, it's not common for us. That's what it is, and there is a deposit to back those funds up. It's not money that we're spending, it's we're writing a check for funds deposited. Would like to ask the councils to accept at the board meeting next week to accept Officer Tyler Griffin's resignation letter. He's been offered a position at the sheriff's office and accepted that position. Hate to lose him.
Me too.
He's the 2018 Officer of the Year.
Yeah.
He's obviously our big drug guy, one of our big drug guys. We have 2 of them. And that kind of leads me into the squad car update. So we'll have one of those, the new squad cars that y'all approved, one of those will be ready. It may be ready now or tomorrow. We had requested, and we're thrilled when you folks decided to go along with our recommendation of the second car being an odd. It's a gun, they call it gunmetal gray, Ford unmarked car, interior lights, so on and so forth. My struggle now, that car was for Tyler. My struggle now is you can't put a regular beat officer in an unmarked interior lighted car. I talked to Richie at Morrow Brothers yesterday. I said, hey, if the council agrees that this is the best practice, is there any different cost? Is there any different? Our white car, our new white car, would be Sergeant Wilson's cars. Like I said, it's finished today or maybe tomorrow. I mean, it's on the verge of being delivered. The silver one, or the gunmetal gray, is still sitting in Chicago. So it's still 2 or 3 weeks away from us getting. And I asked Richie, I said, if the council supported us in just going with a fully marked white squad, just like all the others that we have, would there be any additional costs? Would there be, what road do we go down there? And he said, hell no, absolutely not. I've got 300 of them sitting here. He said it would actually speed up the time that you get the car, which didn't matter to us. I'm looking for feedback. From my position, I feel foolish because I don't know how many times we'll have an opportunity to have an unmarked, fully interior lighted car for a street officer to use. But I don't feel that it's appropriate now. I may ask you next year to go down that road.
Why don't you feel it's appropriate?
Our current staffing, I don't feel that the current officers that I have, we have a lot of younger officers, I don't feel that it's the best fit safety-wise to put them in an unmarked interior lighted car. One of my chiefs, Rich's dad, pounded into us. We had 2 unmarked cars, and he wouldn't let officers drive them, and I thought he was, I wasn't favorable of that idea.
It's not the right kind of car for every kind of officer. And I agree with you, and I think the marked is the way to go in this case. And we're on the car replacement schedule, and we'll have the opportunity to do it again next year if you want to get it right.
I hope so, and I hope we have an officer, and that officer, Dick, just fit that car. With him being gone, I think it's in the village's best interest to have a fully marked, fully exterior. There's no price difference. We've got the you know, the car we were gonna trade in, or not trade in, but take the lights out of, we've got another car sitting there, so there's truly no difference in price. Everything's the same. Obviously, there'll be a little bit of expense in putting vinyl on it like the other cars, which we weren't gonna do with the unmarked, but, very little.
So do we need to change an ordinance in which to do that, to change the VIN number on the purchase?
I don't think we did the VIN number. 'Cause
We didn't because we left that open because there wasn't nothing to a car, so we left that open when.
That's right.
It wasn't Rob, it was the other cat that was
Jeff,
here,
yeah.
Jeff.
He was right, sitting here, you're right.
Yeah. So I don't think we do because we just add in the number as we get it. And then we have to.
Again, it's not an action item, I guess, so to speak. I'm trying to tell you what my opinion is and make for sure that I have your support. Since
So just switch them out.
Go by your opinion.
Yeah.
everybody,
Except I wish Tyler wasn't leaving.
me too. It's a huge loss for us.
It is.
I would, in normal times, I would be asking you to appoint the application that I passed around to replace Tyler. I'm not prepared to do that. I think we've established a really good way of doing business where we hire somebody, we see if they fit our community and our department and our family. I'd like to, this kid has agreed to come to us part-time. I'd like to see him on the road for 30, 60, 90 days before I reapproach the council and ask to fill the full-time position.
He did put Terry Kaminsky down. Terry's a good friend of mine.
Oh, that's bad.
No, it's not.
Here's a copy of Tyler's resignation, by the way, which I thought was.
What's the position he's taking at the county? Is it official yet?
Yes, ma'am, deputy,
A deputy?
road deputy.
God, I hate that.
Yeah, taking and I was in his position once, you may have been as well, when you're a young officer, you run around the village of South Jacksonville and you get dizzy. You know, I mean, he's a very active officer,
He
so
is, yeah.
he just, you know, and
He's a
that's,
good kid.
he's a super kid, and that's the only benefit that he has to going to the county. He's getting less pay. He was just getting ready to move into a brand new vehicle. He'll have far from a brand new vehicle. And he'll have a stack of supervisors, which he's not fond of. He's been an excellent officer for us. I hate to lose him, but kind of figured that it would come to this. So. That's all I have on my list. I can go back through if anybody has
No.
questions.
No.
Damn. You better shut up.
You were just told.
That was pretty, man, that's like a big old mug shot. That's what that looks like.
It does look like a
Yeah.
He doesn't look quite like that either. When you look at it, it's like, are you gonna fit in a uniform?
Any old business?
Yes. I wanted to see Tiffany, we had touched on the new accounting firm.
Yes.
You said you were doing some work on that, so, it's not on the agenda, but I'd like to talk about that
Well, I talked to
for next
Rob.
month possibly.
Um,
You talked to who?
to Rob.
Oh, okay, yes.
Zumbalin was less than 20,000, but they're local.
Uh-huh.
I expect it to go over 20,000. Obviously, if somebody's having to travel. So,
Excuse me.
do you want to put that out for bid, or are you prepared to waive competitive bidding and just choose a place, or that's going to be up to you to decide that first?
You had kind of looked around, right?
Yes, but it doesn't matter if you have to, unless you're going to waive competitive bidding. So, I thought about this, and I thought there's two parts to this. I could recommend you to waive competitive bidding and find a really good place, or you could just say, you know what, hands in the air, let's be transparent and bid it out, and whoever gets it comes in and gets it, you know, like, and we may end up with some goofball auditor, we may get a good one, I don't know. You know what I mean? So there's two ways to look at that. Which way do you want to do it? You know, do you want to make sure you're picking a good one, or do you want to be totally, what we get is what we get, you know, so.
I mean, you don't necessarily have to pick the lowest bid either.
Well, but then why bid it out? You know, I mean, you're right, but see what I mean? Like, that's what I mean, like, it's gonna be up to you, you know what I mean? Like, if you wanna waive the competitive bidding, or if you wanna choose one, and, I mean, you're always gonna have accusations, you know what I mean, when it comes to that stuff, and people aren't gonna be happy with some parts of the finances, but if the point of doing that is to remove questions from people who still have them, then I guess that's, you have to decide which way you wanna go with that first.
Would you be able to and I guess I don't know about this sort of thing. But like if I'm gonna be putting something out to an actual bid, then I kind of work the qualifications of the bid to eliminate those joker bids.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're not gonna have to entertain a one-man band coming in here, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
they're gonna bid out of the village, I
No.
don't think.
That's what I imagine.
Right, no.
But like if that, because I kind of feel like if that can be engineered in a way to eliminate the goofball stuff, as you put it, then maybe going to bid would be the best option for the community.
Sure, and you know,
Yeah.
from that, you know, I Zumbalin may bid this then, you know what I mean? They could come in the lowest and very likely will if they bid it because they're local, you know, and a lot of these bigger firms are gonna be Springfield. And Zumbalin's wonderful, they're great to work with, you know what I mean? But I know the intention is just to
Yeah,
get away
that's
for
not
a
the
year,
point,
you know,
right.
so, but like, we don't have to accept that, so.
What did they charge?
This year's audit came in just over 17,000, it'll be in payables.
So we're looking at 1721, somewhere in that ballpark.
I don't think so. If they're coming from Springfield, I would not be surprised if you're over 25 grand. I really wouldn't. By the time they travel and do all that,
I'm guessing we went up when we switched attorneys from local to
I don't know.
Springfield.
I think we budgeted 28 for Zumbalin, didn't we?
I want to say, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know.
It was definitely 25, I know.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
But no, we didn't, they knocked off $5 an hour,
Oh,
and
did they?
and they didn't charge for drive time, so
Okay.
actually we saved a little bit.
I
off
feel
of it.
so strongly about needing to switch the accounting firms. If it's more, I'm okay with that. Because again, this is the one thing the public wanted us to do, and it's 3 years into my appointment / election, and I still haven't seen it through. And it really bugs me.
So, I mean, the simple question, which is the hard one, but I need to know from you guys, do you want to put it out for bid, or do you want me to just choose it?
That's my opinion, put it out for bid.
If we put it out for bid, at least we can thin it out that way.
I agree.
You get a broader people, yeah.
Yeah, they might be the lowest bid, but then at least we'll have them on the table and we'll see, and they'll be in front of us with numbers. We'll
So
go
do you
from there.
want an ad in the Springfield paper then?
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
think so. It's
Yeah.
gonna cost more, but I
I would think so.
because that's probably where you're gonna
And
get.
if Zumbalin wants to bid, I mean, at least I think we should reach out to them if you're
I've
comfortable
spoken with
doing that.
Suzanne. I
Yeah,
have.
so she knows the
She
reason.
knows,
It's
yeah.
nothing about the work,
Right.
it's about, we've had them for a really long
Absolutely,
time.
yeah. Well, and I think it's really important, just from a relationship, that we
Yeah,
have this
be
established
honest, right.
before we get their letter of engagement. You know what I
Yes,
mean? Like, we don't
that's
spring
why
it all
I wanna
last
do it
minute,
now,
you know?
yes.
Yeah, so,
She's finished the audit, this is a good time
yeah.
to clear, I mean, and if you guys wanna keep them, I'm,
No, it needs to be.
I just make sure, and I think I've made it clear several times, that I'd like to see it change for a year. But, I mean, I'm just one, so if you guys wanna keep it, we don't even have to do it.
Probably a stupid question, but I've had 5 different accountants in my life. They don't give a shit whether they have my business or not. Do accounting firms bid this?
Oh, well, because we have the $20,000 thing. So that's where I said to Rob, I know that they are gonna come in less than that. But I
Right.
said, knowing going into this,
No,
it'll
but I
probably
mean,
be more than
do
that.
firms even care to
Oh, yeah.
bid it?
Well, yeah, that's
Really?
money. Oh, gosh, yes.
Especially here.
Yeah.
Everyone that I've ever had, you come or go, they don't care.
And I
They
did,
got business.
They do,
along, yeah.
and yeah, but
okay, so do we
I
wanna?
promise you, Zimbabwe Life is not gonna care that we go. They value the relationship,
Sure.
but they're not hurting for money.
no.
And I did want to add something, a little informational item. I don't know if you guys heard on the radio, it was the school district had their audit presentation. It was Suzanne Steckel and Zumbalin, and they had a finding dismissed for the first time in 15 years, Ben, I think it was. Guess what finding was dismissed? Same one that we had dismissed, which was the separation of duties. Steve Potasic was quoted, I mean, you had tape from him. Steve Potasic said, it made no difference who worked in the office. He said, everybody in my office does a good job. He said, the reason they removed the finding is school districts were telling the state that it was not feasible it just didn't make any sense. He said, I can't hire all the people they want me to hire. So I want you guys to know that, because Suzanne was suggesting we hire more people, and that's why we removed the finding. And if you remember, I asked her directly, why was the finding removed now if we were saying that position of Alice did it? And she didn't really say it was Alice, she just said there was more of a separation. But from what I was hearing, and Ben, if I'm saying it wrong, you can correct me, because you wrote the story, I think. But I thought that's exactly the same thing we faced. It may be recommended to us that we hire more people, but is it feasible that we hire more people? And the school districts, is that correct?
The other stipulation to that is the federal government put pressure on auditors because of all the federal dollars being shipped into school districts, that money needed to be touched by multiple people.
Yes.
And that finding was coming up a lot, so that's the difference probably between a municipality and a school district.
Yeah, with all due respect, I completely disagree
But
with you.
I
It's
found,
not the same
the
at all.
point I liked that he said was, it is just a finding.
Sure.
So the fact that we had it for so many years and they had it for 15, and yeah, they're a school district, we're a municipality. I just found it very interesting that that same finding was removed from us and was removed from a school district within the same fiscal year. Yeah. So I just thought I'd pass that along. And I'm sure, I'm not saying it had anything to do with Somaliland, because I think it would have been any accounting firm. But I just.
talked to Suzanne, off the record about this. She deals with 40-some school districts, and she said that finding has been coming off quite a bit.
Yeah, because things have changed, and Patask said they were complaining and saying, you're tying our hands, and look how long the village has had that finding.
It's not the same at all, though. I mean, please, with all due respect, please don't reason that out as why Alice left, because you guys have decided that before then. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, you know what I mean? Like, I don't wanna go down that road again, but I think it was very political.
No, what I'm saying is Alice, and I asked that from the beginning, Alice has been here 3 years, so if it truly was a separation, in my mind, it still doesn't make sense that Suzanne said just now that finding came off. So it could be a changing or relaxation of some of our guidelines perhaps, that we just don't know about for accounting firms.
I don't think Susan would have misguided us in the recommendation.
Oh, no, I don't mean that. I don't mean that at all. I just think it's something, food for thought. So take it as you will. So what do we need to do for bids for accounting for, if you guys all want to do
I think
that?
she already explained that we're gonna put an ad out and.
But does
we'll get that
everyone
out,
want to
so.
do that?
Yeah, we already
Okay.
passed that discussion on.
Now, who puts the bid up? Does Megan or do I? The ad for publication? I mean, I'm only asking because I truly don't know. Like, are you telling me to do this, or is that the clerk that puts the publication?
Normally it'd be the clerk, but since it's a financial thing, how about, would you mind handling that?
No, but I don't want to get in trouble for it.
No, how about we go ahead and have you do that one?
Okay.
Okay. If you're okay with that.
Sure.
Alright. Any old business, or I'm
Yeah.
sorry, new business?
No, under old business, is all of the work that Alice has done been absorbed by people here?
No.
No? What is there? Do we still need to hire somebody?
Yes, in my opinion, yes.
Okay.
Dick, I'm gonna be really honest with you. I haven't had a chance to look at this stuff because, I mean, or even to know, you know what I mean? Like, I
Sure,
don't know.
I understand, but I mean, there's nothing been pressing that we're not behind on due dates or anything like that. So, okay. Once again, if we wanna hire somebody, I think the guy that we talked about, Schaefer, is still available, but tell us what we need to do there.
We need to
We don't know what,
advertise for the position.
what job
Okay.
he'd be doing.
So then
Well,
we need.
I think that if it was just gonna be like a direct replacement for the person, then I think that's already lined out on
On a
what,
job description, correct?
on what we have what Alice was doing, and if we're looking at that as the position of the person, then we would wanna bring someone in to do the same thing.
Is it a consultant that you're looking to hire or an employee?
No, it'd be
A consultant.
Yeah, like independent contractor, Dick,
The
right?
contractual,
Well, he's a hands-on guy. I mean, he would do what Alice did.
Well, yeah, but in the form of an independent contractor, not
Right.
Yeah.
a,
An
a
employee
regular
or
employee. Yes.
contract.
Yes.
So, So he's, okay, so you already have someone, or Alice?
No, we need to advertise for it, just like with any other position, so.
Well, it's not a position though, it's contractual, so yeah,
Yeah,
we would
but
do
we'd
the,
still-
yeah, ask for that
Well, we'd
service.
still need to advertise for it, I think.
Okay.
Solicit for it.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about transparency with auditing
Right.
firms. It
Sure,
only makes sense.
absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
What medium would you use to advertise? Just locally or?
Journal Courier or the Source, one of the two. Yeah, the Source is cheaper, so I'd say the Source.
You wouldn't go
Well,
beyond that?
When Alice, would she, like, what if she applies?
Then she applies.
Is she out, or do we entertain, or what's my direction on this, that you already know?
I don't think Alice would.
I mean, I'm kind of blindsided with this right now, you're naming names and you're,
Well, we advertise and we'll see who applies.
I thought you eliminated the position with Alice.
I don't think, I think the position is still there. I think we advertise for it and we go from there.
She could reapply, but I don't think she's gonna be hired. Just because we're in that official table there.
I don't think that would be appropriate in an open meeting, but I think we just need to discuss what we're doing now as far as the position, the open position, and I think we just need to advertise for it and go from there.
So you want me to put it out in the Source?
You know what, it'd be really nice if we could see what it said first. Cause I feel like we're kind of hanging you out there to dry to say,
Yeah.
to advertise for it, but we haven't really given you direction of what it looks like. Does that make sense?
The job or the ad?
Yeah, the ad of like, if she puts it out there, what if she puts it and then we're like, well, we didn't tell you to do that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Have
maybe
the
we
ad
should
re-
give you direction.
Have the
on
ad
it.
reviewed?
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah, okay.
absolutely.
Cause I really don't know what it should say. Only you to do that on your own. Then I feel like we're like, go Tiffany, and then,
We
yeah,
have the ad reviewed and,
okay.
yeah, we'll go from there. Alright, any new business then?
Finch just emailed me, and this is customary, guys. The FSA map shows 35.98 acres being tillable, and you are renting tillable acres.
Yeah.
So he rounded it up to 36, so there's 36 acres out of 40 that's tillable.
Okay.
Now, I'm familiar with that out
that-
there, and there's 3 sides of it that have trees.
Yeah, that's,
So it's 40 acres, but it's 36.
we're not gonna charge them for what's not stillable, yeah. that's-
Absolutely, that's
Absolutely.
the whole thing. So I don't want anybody to think you're gonna get an even $8,000.
Anything else?
New business?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
new
where we're at.
business, I had 2. Tom Winter contacted me. He has the Heart of Jacksonville Santa Arrival Parade the day after Thanksgiving. It's 29/19, that's a Friday. He doesn't want money or anything for it. He wanted to see if the village needed to
Sorry,
approve.
when is it?
It's the Friday after Thanksgiving, 11/29/19.
Black Friday.
It's the Santa Arrival Parade downtown. He wanted to know if the village would like to have a fire truck or a police car or something in the parade.
They just left, but
And
I'll
he
get
wanted
it
to ask now, so you guys would know. He doesn't want any money for it, he just wanted to invite us to be a part of the parade. And then I wanted to give you guys this to think about. I talked to Andy Ezzard, also I heard on the news that Jacksonville just did this resolution in support of closed captioning on television in public areas. It's in support of the deaf community. It is not an ordinance because you'd have to enforce it. It's a resolution, and the bottom, like the third paragraph from the bottom, it's from the Jacksonville Community Center for the Deaf. They established an open communications movement ad hoc committee to provide open and informative communications in all communities. Basically what this said, if you heard it on the news, it was Jacksonville is encouraging businesses to use closed captioning for the deaf community. They estimate there's like 400 deaf residents. You've got a school for the deaf here. Obviously it's in Jacksonville, but this is, if you look at the very last page, and I just feel it would be something we should consider doing for the village. They're expressing support for the deaf community in this area, and we are pretty unique. I remember when I moved here, they said you have 2 state schools, ISVI, ISD, and that's huge for as small as Jacksonville is, and we're right next door. So I'm not saying we need to do it, Andy emailed it to me, I told him I would print it off. This is what they approved. They actually worked with this community center for the deaf. They came in and talked to the city commission. I would like to pursue it. And again, it's really means nothing. It's not like we enforce it. In my mind, it's just another good neighbor, good faith. I'm sure we have deaf residents going into our businesses, especially our hotels, and if there's something closed captioned there, bless you, shouldn't we be a part of that if they're traveling and coming to our community? So I just wanted to hand that out. That's food for thought for another time.
Well, how are they gonna enforce it? They require me to come to.
That's why you don't enforce it. It's a resolution, so you don't have to.
Just ask you
This
to
is
do it.
more of
Ask
a,
me to come to cooperate.
yeah, you just ask businesses, and you can read this over, Tom. It just basically says they're asking businesses to consider if they have closed captioning anyway. Some businesses don't. Our gas stations even might. If they have it, they want them to consider using it. They are not telling, yeah, they're not telling them they have to,
The
because,
resolution is basically our pledge to
yeah,
ask for that.
to be good faith. So just, that's food for thought for another meeting, but I wanted to give it to you.
This is new business. Could I request a quick 5-minute closed personnel session? Is that possible? I mean, literally 5 minutes.
So I can send that to you.
Oh, yeah. Up to the trustees.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
No problem.
We're this far.
We've been here this long.
Motion to close,
Wait a second.
Get out of here, Ben.
motion to close open session, to go
All right.
into closed session for personnel.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on a
Say
minute.
aye.
Aye.
Oh, wait, I was doing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any other old business? I have one, or new business. I have one thing.
You are shitty
One thing, real
right
quick.
now.
I'll try and make it quick. Please hand.
Under new business.
Yes, it just came in today, so, I don't, I say I don't like, I should use that loosely, but making donations. I'm not a big fan of using taxpayer dollars to make donations, but this is one of those that is actually an economic benefit to the community, and that's the Jacksonville Promise. I'm sure most of you are familiar with what it is, so I won't go over all the details of that. But they just recently asked Jacksonville for a donation, and they
I
received
see this coming.
$2,500 from Jacksonville. So they couldn't be here tonight, because tonight is actually the benefit that they're having, so.
Actually, it's Thursday.
What's that?
It's Thursday night's their benefit.
Oh, they're having a stuffing, envelope
It's
stuffing.
nice to hear that
tonight.
one went
I
to
was gonna go,
Jacksonville.
but
How many have we
stuck
heard
here.
that ever
So-
goes to Jacksonville?
Yeah, there are other benefits.
So
Yeah.
far, we have received $2,500 from Jacksonville. When did we get that money?
No,
City.
Jacksonville, not
Regular
us.
Jacksonville.
That's why I just said it. I know
I'm sorry.
it's so nice to see that we're receiving one that went to Jacksonville. How many have come in here and Jacksonville didn't get it?
Like I said, I do stress that when normally making donations, I'm not a big fan of giving taxpayer dollars, because, that's citizen dollars that,
How much you get?
personally,
Yeah.
to this, I don't know. But the thing,
answer.
that's a good question. But the thing is with this, there is a economic benefit to this community, so it makes sense you can justify using taxpayer dollars, because there's a return on your dollar, if that makes sense.
For local colleges too, it says Lincoln Land, McMurray, Illinois College.
It'd be nice if they changed their name to Jacksonville Area Promise.
Yeah.
We would be included in that. Jacksonville/South Jacksonville Promise.
/S
Maybe we
Jacksonville.
ought to
Yes.
attach a little caveat to that for you.
Right.
Because we have students that attend District 117.
But is that something that people would be interested, you guys would be interested in donating to, and if so, an amount?
I don't know, I might like to have them come talk to us, because I'd like to ask them if they could include us in their name. Because we don't have a school district, it's a Jacksonville school district, which South Jacksonville is a part of.
Yeah.
So this does not name
I'd have
our,
them come.
I know what
Our
they're gonna
village.
they're gonna tell you. It's all District 117.
but
Would you
we
like-
are District 117.
Can we go ahead
I know,
and put
that's
that on the agenda,
That'd be
or
good.
Yeah.
to vote on? But have them come and speak at the November meeting, and then we vote on it, or do you want?
Well, I think they ought to be here.
I'd rather vote on it after, I think it's a little premature to have it at the.
Oh, that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
so.
Come out here and tell us on it.
Ask
like
them
at
to
the
come
next
to the
committee.
November meeting
Yeah.
and sell us on it. All right, I will
Definitely, it's a
contact them.
great thing, it's a great program.
Yep. All right.
Is that,
Dick, it's your move.
is everything gonna be set up out there where I just walk in and start throwing candy at the kids or what?
Absolutely.
Little Bo Peep.
Let's
So there'll
not
be a
throw-
table of candy?
Let's not throw
Jason, are you
Little Bo
seconding?
Peep.
You don't have to, you just hand it to him. You don't have to.
I know,
Don't
but you
throw
know
it,
me.
Cause you're scared.
That's why I didn't want Steve
It'll all
telling
be
stories.
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
So don't throw
A
stuff.
second.
You
He did that already.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
When